the General Motors Hour. General Motors Holdens, through the Macquarie Network and cooperating stations in all states, present The End of the Affair, starring Margot Lee and Richard Davies. This is John Deese introducing our play. Tonight we are very pleased to broadcast a radio version of Graham Greene's best-selling novel, which became a very successful Columbia film, The End of the Affair. This is a very powerful drama in which we star Margot Lee and Richard Davies. The play will be produced by Harry Harper. And so to Act One of the General Motors Hour production of The End of the Affair.
Hello, Bendix, old man. Nice to see you.
Nice to be here, Henry. A nice party.
Have you a drink?
Not right now, if you don't mind. Well, Henry, you have a charming house here. I didn't quite imagine you in a house like this.
Oh, that's my wife's doing. She found it.
Isn't that your wife?
Where?
Just coming out of that door behind us.
Oh, yes, that's Sarah. But how do you know? You have your back to her.
I saw her in that mirror.
Oh. Sarah, dear.
Yes, Henry. Just a moment.
I've seen your wife lots of times walking in the square. The funny thing about being near neighbors, Henry, sometimes one remains a stranger for months.
Oh, we're not really conservative, Bendrix. Sarah.
Yes, darling.
I'd like you to meet Morris Bendrix. My wife?
Oh, the writer.
Ah, the graceful memory of the civil servant's wife. I must remember that.
Will you excuse me a moment? I'll get some drinks.
Yes, darling.
I shan't be long.
You're writing a book about a civil servant, aren't you, Mr. Bendix?
I'm afraid it's going to be pretty dull. I mean, my writing will make it so. Why aren't I in uniform?
I didn't ask.
I was discharged a year ago and started writing again. Can I get you a sherry? Henry seems to be caught up over there.
No, thank you. I've got to go on like this for hours.
You do it very well.
Oh, I like it.
I noticed.
What?
Things you do very well. In that mirror over there.
You saw me...
Kissing that French officer.
Oh, it was frivolous.
I thought it looked passionate.
You'll excuse me.
No, I think I'll go.
Bendrix. Bendrix, you're not leaving.
Well, I'm afraid I have some work to do, Henry.
Oh, I envy you writer fellows the ability to put down what you think.
Ah, but you see, we often put down what we don't think.
There is some virtue in false impressions.
Possibly.
You know, Bendrix, I think Sarah could help with your book. She could tell you more about my life than I could myself. And besides, she's much more observant than I am.
I'm sure Mr. Bendrix is very observant.
Sarah, why don't you and Bendrix arrange something? A meeting, a chat. I'm sure you could help him with his book. Well, why don't you arrange something?
I think I will.
Good. Sarah will see you off. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Henry. Rules tomorrow night at 7?
What for?
Dinner.
Yes, Mr. Bendrix.
There we are, Mrs. Miles, our drinks.
Oh, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. Morris.
Morris. I like it.
Have a drink. Lucky to get a whiskey. Oh, drink it. Never know when the Blitz might waste it.
I like the drink, too.
I'm glad you don't always order sherry. It's a dull drink.
No, I don't really like it, but it suits some people.
Especially civil servants.
Especially... You wanted to ask me something? I mean about your book.
You realize what we're doing? Sitting at this bar, looking in a mirror.
A mirror?
Yesterday I saw you close up for the first time in a mirror.
But I've explained, Morris.
Yes, it was frivolous.
Your book.
Oh, yes. Well, you see, no matter how inventive a writer thinks he is, there are certain things he has to know. In my novels, which ones have you read?
Well, I haven't read any.
Now, look, when your husband introduced us and you heard my name, you said, the writer?
Well, I read some of the reviews of your books. You know, Henry will be frightfully pleased if you put him in a book.
Will you?
Yes.
And will you trust him to me after... without having read my books?
Trust is a variable quality. It... Oh,
Wipe your mouth.
oh yes. Did you kiss me because you saw me kissing a Frenchman yesterday?
Well, I thought it was. But look, our table's ready. Let's go and have dinner. You know, Sarah, when I invited you out to dinner tonight, it was with the cold intention of picking the brains of a civil servant's wife. But I'm beginning to think I'm in a strange country without a map. Maybe it's you that makes it seem so. I can't picture your life.
Oh, it's quite ordinary. Of course, the war has made a difference. I watched you walk away from the house yesterday.
I wasn't sure, but I felt I was being looked at.
I thought he's leaving. I had hope, but
What?
I felt there was something unsaid.
Then you knew it first.
Yes, Morris.
It's getting late.
Yes.
I can't take you home yet.
No. Not home.
Let's find a taxi. Good afternoon, Martha.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Bendrix. Mrs. Myers is upstairs in the drawing room, sir. She's expecting you.
Oh, thank you.
Go straight upstairs, please, sir.
Oh, Sarah. Oh, Sarah. I thought the time would never pass.
Morris. Morris.
Do you realize you were away almost a week?
5 days.
Oh, I've missed you. For a year, I've lived down the street from you, and your house was just one of a row of houses, a number I never even saw. And now, when you're away, the whole street seems empty. Don't ever leave me again. Oh, Sarah.
Morris. The blackout. I almost forgot the curtains.
I didn't realize it was so late. I really shouldn't have come here.
Why not?
Well, with that maid hanging about.
Oh, but she always knocks.
And Henry, he might come home any minute.
She should have heard him.
You haven't told me where you were.
Oh, very dull place. Brighton.
What were you doing there?
No, it would bore you to hear.
Were you, with someone you've known a long time?
Yes.
Longer than Henry?
No much.
Does Henry know where you were?
No, not exactly.
Huh? Secret visits, huh?
In a way.
You know, it's funny, I could be asking all these questions in a different tone of voice, and we'd be having a jealous scene. Where were you? With whom were you? What's his name?
Morris.
Was it just frivolous?
I was with my mother.
You're joking.
But why? What did you think?
I was thinking... Just talking.
Henry and she don't quite hit it off. Every now and then I go down.
I've phoned you every day. The maid said you were away.
And I spend some time with her.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous of someone who's known you so long and so well. Known you when you were little, defenseless, uncomplicated.
I might have to go back to Brighton.
But you've just come home.
Henry's coming.
I said you've just come home.
Please, Morris. Cigarette?
Sarah.
Hello, darling.
Oh, you're back. Hello, Bendrix.
Henry?
How are you, darling?
How are you?
Oh, fine.
How's the war going in your department, Henry?
Well, I'm in pensions, you know, so I keep busy.
Oh, Henry and his widows.
Well, they used to be old ones, and I didn't mind so much, but now all those young widows, most of them with so little to remember, it's so troubling. Bendrix, I have something to tell you.
Yes?
I have something to suggest, something you might like to use in your book about the civil servant.
Oh, yes.
Well, a lot of our chaps have hobbies. In fact, it seems to be rather the thing among civil servants. Music, painting, writing. We even have an amateur geologist and quite a fair poet.
What's your hobby?
Well, I haven't any. I don't seem to need one. Do I, Sarah?
No, dear.
Well, I must be leaving. Thank you, Henry. It was very kind of you to think about my book.
Oh, well, that sort of thing rounds off the character, doesn't it?
It helps. Don't bother to come down, Henry. I know the way out.
Righto. See you again soon?
Yes.
I'll show you out.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Henry. Sarah.
What is it, Morris? What's wrong?
Well, Sarah, didn't you mind?
Mine.
You don't even know what I'm talking about, do you?
Henry?
Only the moment matters with you. First the moment with me, and now the moment with Henry.
Morris, please.
You must bear with me, Sarah. This is the first time I've held you in my arms in your own house, Henry's house, and then watched Henry come in and your face, how you deceived him without saying a word.
I love you, Morris. I'd never deceive you.
Even as you say it, your face is full of truth, the ease with which you do it. How can you stand there and look at me as if I were Henry, all the love washed out of your face?
It isn't true.
I can feel myself turning into your dull husband and you my unfaithful wife. You had to see your mother. You've been away in Brighton. How do I know you've been there?
You have no real trust in me.
Because I don't know how long it'll be before I'm like Henry and someone else is like me.
You have no right
I have no right where you're concerned, Sarah. I'm just a passenger in your life. Someone you picked up on the way, someone you'll drop off when it suits you.
Morris, darling, I love you. What more can I say? I want to go on seeing you.
Not here. Never again in Henry's house.
I'll come to your house.
When?
I don't know, Morris.
When it suits you, I suppose. If it suits you. Sarah. Oh, it's been 3 days.
Yes, Morris. Look, aren't the flowers lovely? I went shopping for them. I'll find a vase.
Wait, Sarah.
Yes.
You look lovely. And the flowers.
I couldn't resist them. The whole world in chaos, and they just keep on blooming. It gives me a kind of faith.
In what?
Oh, I don't know. The lilacs that bloom every year, the apples keep growing on apple trees. Morris, you look angry. I can't imagine why anyone can be angry on a day like this.
Well, there's an air in it.
I feel safe in your house.
I'm not angry.
I didn't really mean you. I was thinking of those soapbox orators in the park. I walked by that way, and they were all furious about something. Capitalism, or military service, or foreign aid. There was even one man who was angry about God.
Huh?
Yes. Actually, it scared me a little.
Why didn't you come here sooner? It's been 3 days. 3 days wasted. All worthy. Sarah, what?
Please, Morris, please don't. You torment yourself so much. I don't like to see you miserable. Morris, I loved you enough to hesitate about going on. I mean, seeing you again. I know now, after 3 days, I must come here. Again and again.
Those don't sound like ordinary bombs. No, there's something different.
Don't go near the window, Morris. It's dangerous.
They look like planes on fire, but they're not. Look, I think you'd better get out of here, Sarah. I don't like the look of those things.
No, I'd rather stay here.
If anything should happen and you're here, look, let me see you across the square.
Let me stay here with you.
Well, if you won't go home, we'd better go to the basement. It's safer.
But your landlady may be there. I couldn't face
Well,
it.
I'll go down and see.
But... No, Morris, don't leave me. Don't go.
I'll be right back.
Morris!
I told you, Sarah. I'll be right back.
I love you. dead.
Please, please.
Sarah.
You! Morris, you're alive! It's really you. You're not dead.
No.
But you're hurt.
It's just my face scratched. What are you doing on your knees?
I don't know. I was praying, I think.
You should have come downstairs.
I did, but I couldn't see you. Only a hand stretched out from under the door. I couldn't lift the door. I was certain you were dead.
The door wasn't holding me.
It was so heavy.
It wasn't heavy. I just crawled out. How long was I down there?
I don't really know. 5 or 10 minutes.
I had such an odd sensation when I came to a terrific sense of space and distance. As if I'd been on a long journey. Like a dream. All this looks unreal. Even you. I'd better take you home.
No. I'll go alone.
Shall I see you tomorrow?
It may not be safe.
I survived this.
Yes. Yes, you did.
Sarah.
I'm tired, Morris.
You can't go like this. You're walking out. When shall I see you? When? Don't shake your head. Do you mean...
Don't look so frightened. Morris, love doesn't end just because we don't see each other.
Don't see each other. Morris, you're not dead. That look on your face when I came back and saw you kneeling here, you weren't praying, you were just sitting on the floor. You've been lying, deceiving me.
Morris.
All the time at heart you were hoping for my death, so that you could leave me with an easy conscience. You waited 10 minutes, left me lying down there. You didn't try to help to get that door off me. You were hoping for my death. Get out. Get out. Get out!
And so ends Act 1 of our play. 11 candles on a birthday cake are usually the signal for congratulations and a certain amount of pride. And so it is with General Motors Holden's. November the 29th marks the 11th birthday of the Holden car, which first rolled off the GMH assembly lines on November 29th, 1948. Here's how it all began. In 1944, the Chifley government asked manufacturers to submit proposals for producing motor vehicles in Australia. General Motors Holden's was the only organization courageous enough to accept the challenge. The proposal GMH submitted made no demands for extra tariff protection, subsidies, bounties, import restrictions, or other concessions. In fact, GMH made it clear that they would welcome competition under the same conditions. New processes were introduced, new plant and equipment installed. Australian engineers, technologists, scientists, and operatives were trained, both here and overseas, in the most efficient methods of automotive manufacture. Skilled engineers, production men, and know-how were freely contributed by the General Motors Corporation in America. Not one detail was left to chance. Not a single effort was spared to make Holden the big step forward its planners visualized. Today, the total has spiraled to well over 600,000. And 13,000 Holdens have been exported to countries overseas. Because of constant demand, the annual production rate for Holden has increased to 115,000 and will rise to 125,000 when GMH's fifth post-war expansion is completed. What better proof, if proof were needed, of the wisdom and foresight behind the oft-repeated General Motors Holden's aim to make more and better things for more people. And now Act 2 of the General Motors Hour production of The End of the Affair.
Henry! Henry!
Yes?
Remember me?
Oh, why, Bendrix, it's a long time since we've seen you.
A year. I've been away. I decided to come back. Things are different in London now. The war's over. Everything's changed. What I used to hate, I can bear now.
I'm glad you called out to me. I rather want someone to talk to. Sarah's out, so shall we go into the house?
All right, Henry.
Thank you. I want to talk about Sarah. Worried about her. You're not getting much warmth from the fire, Bendix.
I'm fine, thanks, Henry. You said you wanted to talk about Sarah.
Yes, I'm worried about her.
Is she ill?
No. Bendix, I'm afraid. I've always thought the worst thing any man can do. The very worst.
You know you can trust me, Henry.
Yes. Yes, I know. I want you to read this. Please.
In reply to your inquiry, I would suggest you employ the service of a fellow named Savage, 159 Vigo Street. From all reports, he has the reputation of being both able and discreet.
I haven't done anything about it, but that letter has sat in my desk reminding me. It seems silly, doesn't it, that I can trust Sarah absolutely not to come into my study and read it. Yet I can't trust her. Well, she's out for a walk now. A walk?
You mean you want a private detective to follow Sarah?
They always say, don't they, that a husband is the last person to know. I thought tonight when I met you in the square, if I told you and you laughed at me, I might be able to burn this letter. You do think that I'm a fool, don't you?
No. After all, Sarah's human.
You mean you think it's possible?
Well?
You know, you seem pleased. And I always thought you were a special friend of hers.
I'm on your side, Henry, that's all.
You can't think what it's been like all these months. I never know where she is or what she's doing, and she's away at all hours without explanation.
Then go and see this fellow Savage. Go and see him, Henry.
Really? Forgive me, but it's as though you hate Sarah. Suddenly you hate her.
Look, Henry, I'm trying to help. You're trying to smother embarrassment, I understand. Let me go and see Savage for you. You can't, a respectable civil servant.
You'd do this for me?
Well, of course I would.
One can't spy on one's wife through a friend.
Well, I could pretend to be a jealous lover.
No, it's unthinkable. All I needed was a good chat just to clear my head. I'm better now.
The name was Savage, 159 Vigo Street.
Mr. Bendrix?
Yes?
Parkes, sir, from Mr. Savage's office. In connection with the inquiry you asked us to make.
Oh, yes. Yes, sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Well?
Well, sir, I have something to report. This morning, I followed the party in question to number 12 Cedar Road. She entered the flat of one J. Smythe and remained there for 1 hour, 10 minutes precise. There is something else, sir.
Yes?
I've been able to make friendly contact with the domestic at Mrs. Sarah Miles's address.
The what?
The maid, sir.
Oh.
Very important person in cases like these. She's been able to tell me a great deal about the habits of the party in question. It's not always easy, sir. Some domestics are very standoffish, but I seem to have a way with them.
Yes, I'm sure you have.
Thank you, sir. Well, as a result of the friendly contact, I've been able to inspect the contents of the party's waste paper basket. I've pieced together what I think is a very interesting exhibit. Here you are, sir. A letter written by the party in question herself. Half of it missing. Very interesting, isn't it, sir?
Yes. Yes, you're doing a fine job, Parkes.
Thank you, sir. If you wouldn't mind mentioning the fact to Mr. Savage, it helps, sir.
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you, sir.
Keep up the good work.
Oh, yes, sir. I'll get into touch with you when I have something further to report. Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, Parkes. I know that I must face up to all my old loyalties, all my old fears and promises, and see them in their true perspective. For I realize that nothing matters except that we should be together now and forever. Now and forever. Henry? Morris Bendrix. Henry, I must see you. It's urgent. How about my club in an hour?
Hello, Bendrix. Waiting long?
No, Henry. I ordered you a sherry. Do sit down.
How nice of you. Thank you.
How's Sarah?
Oh, she's pretty well.
And you, Henry, are you still worried?
Worried?
You were worried. You told me so. Did you ever consult that agent, Savage?
Well, I hoped you'd forgotten that. I was frightfully overworked at the time.
Do you remember I offered to see Savage for you?
We were both.
I went to see him a few days later.
Bendrix, you had absolutely no right.
But you confided in me, Henry, and you were quite right in your suspicion.
This is unspeakable. Slandering a man's wife.
I think you should read this letter.
If you'll excuse
Just a
me.
minute, Henry. This is Sarah's writing.
Yes?
I realize that nothing matters except that we should be together now and forever. Look at it, Henry. Read it. Don't take your glasses off. Read it.
No.
Sarah's handwriting.
Don't thrust it at me. Get away from me. Let me pass. I won't read it. Without my glasses, I can't.
Henry.
Let me pass.
Drink, Mr. Parkes?
Oh, no, sir. Not while I'm on duty, sir. You go ahead, sir.
Well, what have you got for me this time?
I've really done it this time, sir, with the help of that pretty domestic. The party in question gave a cocktail party this afternoon, and I crashed it.
What for?
Well, the domestic, very pretty she is, an astute person.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yes. She told me the party in question keeps a journal.
Oh, you mean a diary?
That's right, sir. Did I digress a moment, sir? I didn't like the look of the party in question.
Oh, is she ill?
Seems to have a very nasty cold, sir. Well, getting back to business, sir. I managed to get hold of the journal. If that doesn't tell you the party in question's secrets, nothing will. Eh?
Yes.
You're going to read it, sir?
Yes. In private.
Oh, well, in that case, sir, I'll get along. You won't forget that reference on my behalf to Mr. Savage, will you, sir?
I'll write you a very good reference, Parkes.
Thank you, sir.
Even as I write this page, it is already tomorrow. And I'm afraid of reaching the end of the...
As long as I go on writing this day, and we're still together. I woke this morning with such a sense of happiness that it spread like sunlight, for I knew I would walk across the square to see Morris. I had decided that I would always want to see him. Dear Morris. He didn't know that for 3 days I'd tried not to see him, because I knew what torment he went through. He pretends to be so grown up in his jealousy, but he's a small boy. And I love him even more on those occasions. When we talked only a short time, the bombs came closer. Bombs we hadn't heard before. Morris begged me to go home, but I wouldn't. Then he said he would go down to the basement and see if anyone was there. I heard him go downstairs. I heard the bomb fall. The blast knocked me down. Dazed, I went downstairs, and Morris was lying under a door. A huge door. I couldn't move it. I could see only his hand. And when I touched it, it had the touch of death. I went upstairs again. The room was littered with papers, pages of Morris's book. I began to pick them up. I kneeled down. I cried.
Oh, God, don't let him be dead. I love him. I'll do anything. Only just let him be alive. I'll never quarrel with him again or make him unhappy. I will be sweet and kind and good. I will be good. I'll live as you would want me to live. I'll give Morris up forever. I'll just let him be alive. Just let him be alive. Just let him be alive. You. Oh, God, don't let him be dead. I love him. I'll do anything. Only just let him be alive. I'll never quarrel with him again or make him unhappy. I will be sweet and kind and good. I will be good. I'll live as you would want me to live. I'll give Morris up forever. I'll just let him be alive. Just let him be alive. Just let him be alive. You're alive!
Excuse me.
You wish to speak to me?
Yes. It isn't often I talk to someone like you. It isn't often I come to a church like this.
You lost someone in the bombing?
Yes, I have lost someone. I've given him up.
Well, that's what we must all do in time. Give up those we love.
But I needn't have. You see, I followed him downstairs after the bomb hit.
I'm very sorry.
But he wasn't killed. I mean, I thought he was.
He was your husband?
No. I'd made him very unhappy. That's why I promised what I did. But of course it was all hysteria. People always are hysterical at times like this, aren't they?
What did you promise?
Well, I know that it sounds absurd, but I thought I prayed him alive. That is absurd, isn't it?
No.
But people don't come alive when they're dead. Well, at any rate, I prayed, and I made that stupid promise. And then he walked into the room. So it was all a mistake. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be wasting your time like this.
You're not wasting my time. You haven't told me yet what you promised. Or to whom.
I promised that if God gave him back his life, I mean, let him not be dead, I wouldn't be with him again. I suppose that doesn't sound like much of a sacrifice to you, but to make a reckless sort of promise like that, and to a God that I've made out of my own fear.
I don't see that you have any problem. If you've made a vow to someone you don't believe in, why keep it?
Are you telling me to break it?
God gave us our free will to use for him or against him.
God, always God. Can you say nothing else?
There is nothing else.
And so ends Act 2 of our play. In 1856, James Alexander Holden settled in Australia. Shortly afterwards, he set up in business as a saddler and carriage builder. Little did he realize then that nearly a century later, his name would be given to the first Australian car. For that matter, few people would have thought, when Holden made its debut on November 29th, 1948, that 11 years later, more than 600,000 Holdens would be in service throughout Australia and overseas. What has taken place in that short period of 11 years? And what contribution has General Motors Holdens made through Holden to the Australian economy? At the end of 1948, General Motors Holdens employed 8,500 people. Today, the total is 19,150, an increase of 10,500 in 11 years. In 1948, GMH relied on the resources of a few hundred suppliers. Today, it takes more than 4,000 outside firms to supply materials, components, parts and services required for Holden manufacture. Of the total employed by this army of suppliers, approximately 35,000 men and women rely entirely on the success of Holden for their livelihood. In addition, some 16,000 people are actively engaged in distributing, selling and servicing Holdens. This means that approximately 70,000 people currently earn an estimated £70 million through GMH operations, chief of which is Holden production. An important aspect of the Holden project is the effect it has had on the overseas exchange situation. Because Holden has a 97% Australian content, it has saved Australia over £200 million in overseas exchange that would have been required to import a like number of vehicles from other countries. And since Holden export commenced in 1954, nearly £6 million has been earned for Australia in overseas exchange. Most significant of all is the heartening effect of GMH expansion through Holden manufacture on industry in general. Australia's own car, Holden, 11 years old this month, has played a major role in making GMH, General Motors Holdens, a link in the chain of Australia's progress, a partner in Australia's future. And now here is the final act in the General Motors hour production of The End of the Affair.
From the church, I wandered home. Henry told me that Morris had been taken to hospital. They called it delayed shock.
I could not forget that look on Morris's face when I left him. A look of hate. Often I phoned the hospital to inquire how he was. And one day they told me he'd left and gone away. I knew no answers, no comfort, no future. Only a past Morris didn't understand, and I could never tell him about. One day, as I walked in the park, I stopped to listen to a soapbox orator.
And that is why I tell you it's all a delusion, a trick. Do you think a merciful, all-powerful God would permit these mass murders, these mutilations? People are longing for a message of hope. Can't you see what hope there'd be if everyone in the world knew there was nothing else but what we have here? No future rewards, compensations, punishments? Then we'd begin to make this world a real heaven.
Excuse me.
Yes?
I wonder could I talk to you privately? I've just heard you speaking.
My name is John Smythe. I have a flat at number 12 Cedar Road. You can see me there any time. It took you a long time to call on me and tell me all this.
Yes, well, peace celebrations interfered.
You've started thinking for yourself, Mrs. Miles.
Sarah.
Thank you. Call me John. You say you don't belong to any church.
No.
And you have no fixed religious beliefs.
No.
Well, then, I don't see why you regard a promise such as yours as binding. You say you prayed for something and it was answered. By whom?
God, I suppose.
You mean above all the bombing, the battle, the cries of men, your little cry for help was heard?
You make it all sound very foolish.
The point is, do you want to believe it?
No. That's why I'm here.
From what you tell me, you've been through a disturbing experience. It's natural you should be confused, particularly since you imagined you had an answer to a prayer. It's like a child who's scared of the dark and calls out mother. She brings a light into the room and the child thinks she's all-powerful. Shall we be children all our lives?
Sometimes one wants to be. But go on. Convince me. I'm the most willing convert you've ever had.
So, you have come back.
You remember me?
Naturally.
Well, if you're going to ask me, have I kept my promise? The answer is yes. Only there's no virtue in it. I'd do much better to turn back and be a cheerful sinner than to go on in this dreary way. Now I'm what they call good. I'm no good to anyone.
You've had a great experience, you know, and you're trying to reject it. But you can't. In that one moment of acknowledgement of God, you took the first step of a long journey. You can turn back, but nothing will ever change the fact that you once took that step. You may find it further and more painful to go back than to go on.
Oh, no, the time ahead is endless. Martha? Martha?
Yes, Mrs. Miles?
Martha, later I want you to deliver a letter.
Deliver it, Mrs. Miles. It's very wet out. Will it be far?
No, it's just down the square to Mr. Bendrick's house. Of course, I wouldn't want you to tell anyone, especially.
I understand, Mrs. Miles.
Morris, darling, for the first time in my life, I am not unsure or afraid of the future. For I realize that nothing matters except that we should be together now and forever. No, I can't put such things on paper. I must say it all, speak the words to him. Soon.
Sit down, Sarah.
Thank you, John.
I've been waiting for you all the week.
Yes, I know. I've been very busy making plans.
What is it, Sarah? What's happened to you?
John, I've come to say goodbye. I shan't come to Cedar Road again. You see, I'm going back to Morris.
Oh. I did convince you after all. Now you can see that you don't have to keep any stupid promises.
You helped.
Helped you to find your way out of that swamp of fear and superstition.
No, John. You helped me to find God. You taught me to believe in him.
I taught you.
By your hate. John, you can't hate something that isn't there. Don't be angry with me. I sat here and I listened for weeks and months. I know the whole argument, and I don't believe a word of it. It all seems very simple. If I could love God after all he's made me suffer, why shouldn't he love me too? Even if I do disappoint him a little.
Are you sure you've quite made up your mind about Morris Bendricks?
Yes, I'm terribly sure. And I'm terribly happy.
And your husband?
I feel tired. I lack a vital courage as far as Henry's concerned. No, I couldn't face him. I'll pack and leave a letter behind for him. Martha.
Yes, Mrs. Miles?
There are 2 suitcases in my room. In a few minutes, I want you to bring them downstairs.
You're going away?
Yes, Martha. Oh. I want you to give this letter to my husband.
Oh, Mr. Miles is coming in now, Mum.
Yes. Martha, never mind the cases at the moment, and I'll keep the letter.
Sarah.
We'll talk about it later.
Yes, Mum. Oh, good evening, sir.
Martha.
Well, You're home early.
Yes, I am. Morris Bendrix phoned me. I had a drink at his club.
What did he want?
Oh, some discussion about a letter.
What letter?
Oh, it's all right now. It doesn't matter now. Oh, my head aches.
You're not wearing your glasses.
No, I deliberately took them off at Bendrix Club so I couldn't read.
Henry, what has happened?
Sarah, I love you. Do you know that?
Yes.
I know I'm dull for you. My friends are dull. We no longer, well, you know, do anything together.
Henry, we're good friends.
No. No, I can't even think of you as a friend. You can do without a friend. And I can't do without you.
Henry, what is it? Did Morris say something to upset you?
Of course not.
Why did you take off your glasses? What was it you didn't want to read?
Sarah, it's just that I can't do without you. Because, you see, it's too late to begin again, and I don't want anyone else. Dear Sarah, I haven't been much of a husband, but stick it out a few years more. I will try. Stick it out, please.
I promise.
Another promise to keep. And once again the door is closed on Morris. I can't write in this book anymore. I'm so tired and I don't want any more pain.
I want Morris. I want ordinary, common, human love.
Hello. This is Mrs. Miles speaking.
Sarah, I know. I know your voice.
Morris. Please, I can't see you. I have a cold. I'm in bed.
I'll come and see you.
No, I can't see you. I won't be here. I'll get up. Morris, I'll tell the maid not to let anyone in.
I must see you.
Please, Morris, I'm asking you. I haven't asked you anything of you for a very long time. Now, promise me that you won't.
I'll come over.
I swear I'll get up and leave the house.
No, it's raining outside. You can't do that.
I can.
Sarah! 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 Sarah, don't go out in the rain. Sarah, wait for me. Wait! Sarah. Oh, Sarah, darling.
Oh, Morris. You've driven me out of my house and out of my bed. At least leave me in peace here.
Here? This church? Why come to this church?
Please.
Listen, Sarah, peace is for the old and defeated. This is where we begin again. All the misery's behind us now. It was my fault, Sarah. I didn't trust you. I didn't know enough about you. But I'm secure now, and so are you.
No, I'm afraid.
You needn't be, not any longer. Now, listen to me very carefully. You can't move about with a cold like this. I want you to go home and take care of yourself for a few days. I'll find a place in the country where you can be quiet and rest. I'll come for you. I'll get a taxi so we can take your luggage away. I'll talk to him. It'll be quick. It'll be final. I know the end of the story now.
No, Morris, it's too late now.
Because you're afraid. That isn't faith you've found, but fear.
Please let me be.
For him to destroy? You called me a jealous lover, but I never demanded of you what he demands. I only want your love. He wants your life.
Have mercy on me.
Has he shown you mercy? And yet you cling to him.
I won't listen.
Because you're afraid of the truth.
Oh, Morris, please, please. Please don't drive me away from here.
Why not? This place is no refuge, it's a prison. There's a life for us together, a good life. Don't let him cheat you of it. What has he ever given you but loneliness and suffering and despair?
I created it all. I made my own loneliness and despair. I didn't seek God. I invented a God to suit my purposes. I fought belief longer than I fought love. And I haven't any fight left.
I love you, Sarah. No one has ever loved you as much before. We're going to be happy. Henry won't mind, except at his pride, and pride soon heals. He'll find himself a new habit to take your place. We're going away, Sarah. No one can stop it now. Go home now, darling. It's cold. It'll soon be dark.
I don't mind the cold. I can believe anything in the dark.
Just believe in us.
That's what I meant.
You shouldn't have run away from me like that.
It wasn't you I was running from. Please, Morris, leave me now.
You ought to be in bed, Sarah.
I shall be soon. I just want you to leave me here.
Promise you won't stay long.
Yes, I promise.
You are telling me the truth. You aren't planning to run away from me again.
Morris, dear Morris, I haven't got the strength.
I'll plan everything. You've nothing to think about but getting the country and find a place. I'll be back in a few days. I'll be straight back for you, Sarah.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Wait, please, driver. There'll be a lot of luggage coming out.
Good morning, Mr. Bendrix.
Morning, Martha. Tell Mrs. Miles I'm here, will you?
I'm sorry, sir. Mrs. Miles is ill.
Ill?
Yes, Mr. Miles is upstairs with a nurse. So's the specialist.
Specialist? It's something serious?
Oh, I don't think so, sir. Mrs. Miles has had a lot of colds lately. And a few nights ago, she got out of bed with a fever and went out into the rain. Oh, Mr. Miles was annoyed about it. That's when he called in Dr. Collingwood.
How is she now?
Oh, she had a good night, sir. Mrs. Miles don't think much of doctors. She said she never had a day's illness in her life. Takes that penicillin stuff she does. But only to please Mr. Miles. He's the worrier.
Oh. Well, it's not too bad, then.
No, sir. Well, Mrs. Miles mentioned you last night, sir. As a matter of fact, she gave me, sir...
Henry.
It is the master coming downstairs now. I've something confidential to tell you before you leave.
Yes. That look on his face. Henry. Henry, what is it? What's happened? Sarah.
Doctor was so sure. Nothing serious. He said just now, never seen anything like this before. Her life just seemed to run away.
Sarah.
Just before the end, she started calling Father, Father. Couldn't have been her own. She never knew her own father. He was killed when she was months old. No. Couldn't have been her own.
Mr. Bendrix,
Yes?
there was something I was to tell you. Last night, Mrs. Miles wrote you a letter, and I was sent across the square to slip it under your door.
I've been away in the country. I haven't been home yet.
Oh, Mrs. Miles said the letter was very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Sarah. Sarah, I'm afraid. Dearest Morris, I'm writing now, knowing you'll soon be home to read this. I wouldn't telephone. Hear your voice go strange when I say I'm not going away with you. I love you, and I can't see you again.
I don't know how I'm going to live in this pain and longing. And I'm praying to God all the time that he won't be hard. Morris, my dearest, I believe there's a God. I believe everything. There's nothing I don't believe. I've fallen into belief the way I fell in love. And I've never believed in anything before as I believe now. Morris, dear, don't be angry. You were on his side all the time without knowing it. You hated in me the things he hates. You worked for our separation with your anger and jealousy and your love. So, you see, you're part of it all, Morris. Just as you are part of me. And we both are part of God. Goodbye, my dearest. Dearest. Love.
Have it your way, Sarah. I believe that you live and that he exists. But I'm tired. Just give me a little time, Sarah. Give me a little time.
And so ends the General Motors Hour production of The End of the Affair, adapted from the Columbia film by Rue Pullen, in which you heard the following players. As the maid, Margaret Roberts. Parkis, Alan Herbert. Smythe, Kevin Brennan. Father Crumpton, Brian James. Henry, Stuart Ginn. Our stars were Margot Lee as Sarah Miles and Richard Davies as Morris Bendrix. The General Motors Hour is directed by Harry Harper, who produced tonight's play. 1 week from tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the General Motors Hour will present the comedy, A Tang of Salt, which tells of what befell an old ex-sea captain when he went to stay with some newfound friends. We shall star John Tate and Queenie Ashton. And now, a closing message. Roadworthy cars deserve car-worthy roads. And remember, 1 week from tonight, the General Motors Hour production of A Tang of Salt, starring John Tate and Queenie Ashton. Until then, this is John Deese saying goodnight to you all from the General Motors Hour, which now signs off from the Macquarie Network and cooperating stations throughout Australia. The General Motors Hour. General Motors Holdens, through the Macquarie Network and cooperating stations in all states, present Invitation to Murder, starring Nigel Lovell and Thelma Scott. This is John Deese introducing our play. Janet and Martin Stone outwardly were a successful and conventional married couple. Successful because the business Janet had inherited was prosperous. Conventional because their joint life appeared to follow the usual pattern of people in their circumstances. But the outward appearance concealed a very different life, which had in it the makings of a violent explosion. As our play unfolds, we shall see just what did come out of this strained relationship. Invitation to Murder is by English writer Frank Rennie, whose play Release was so successfully broadcast in the General Motors Hour a few months ago. As Janet and Martin Stone, we star two distinguished players, Thelma Scott and Nigel Lovell. They're supported by John Holden, Brian Anderson, Geoffrey King, Charles McCallum, Patty Crocker, and Wynne Nelson. The play will be produced by Harry Harper. Ladies and gentlemen, Act 1 of the General Motors Hour production of Invitation to Murder.
Pass me the toast, please. Martin.
Oh, sorry. Did you say something?
Merely a request to pass the toast. You're very preoccupied this morning. What's the matter with you?
Really, Janet, why should you think there's anything wrong just because I failed to hear?
No, never mind. Just pass the toast and have done with it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd finished breakfast, Mrs. Stone.
That's all right, Elsie. You can take everything except the coffee. You might pour me another cup as well, Martin. Do you mind?
It would help if you passed your cup.
Oh, Elsie, did you pack my overnight bag?
Yes, madam. I put it ready in the hall.
Good. Then you can put it in the car for me, Martin.
I'll pick it up on the way out. When are you returning?
Well, let me see. Tuesday today. I'll dine with Brenda and Paul tonight. The Rutherford meeting tomorrow. Oh, and I must call on Sampson Locker Limited on Thursday.
Well, I didn't know we did any business with Sampson Locker.
There are quite a lot of things about the firm which you apparently don't know, Martin.
Well, that's surprising. You're the managing director. I'm only the personnel manager.
I'll come back for the rest later, madam.
And I fail to see why you should always consider it necessary to try and humiliate me in front of the maid.
You humiliate yourself by your lack of knowledge. If you showed a little more interest as to what goes on in the firm...
Chance would be a fine thing.
So we're back to that, are we? You still think you should be on the board of directors, I suppose?
Well, why not? After all, I am your husband.
The fact that you're my husband doesn't necessarily make you a fit person to direct the policy of a firm the size of J. Stone Limited.
Well, the least you could do is to give me the opportunity to show...
You've had the opportunity to show your capabilities. And you haven't shown any yet. No doubt you think because you changed your name...
That's not true. When we got married 5 years ago, I changed my name to yours solely because I knew you were proud of the firm your father had built up.
I have reason to be.
I took it for granted that as you'd been managing director since your father's death, that you'd remain so. And so I thought you'd like to retain the name of Stone.
Thoughtful of you. Of course, it never crossed your mind that it also might be a more suitable name for you to bear as a co-director.
Well, what if it did? That's not unreasonable, is it? But all you did was to make me personnel manager.
It never occurred to you that it was essential to learn all about the business before you became a co-director of mine?
Well, I didn't complain then. That was 5 years ago.
And you still haven't bothered to learn anything?
No. Because you've taken good care that I haven't. With these trips you make to London...
When you used to come with me, you made no contribution at all.
You said you valued my social contacts.
Oh, you're very good at your social graces, for what they're worth. But as soon as I got to discussing business with people, you were bored to death and you showed it.
That's not fair. Merely because I didn't pick everything up right away,
You never tried to pick anything up. You never tried because you weren't interested. You're only interested in the position and the money that goes with it.
Well, that's your fault because you keep everything from me.
Oh, nonsense. Take this proposed contract with Sampson Lockers. You could have asked me about that months ago.
Yes, and have to listen to a lecture from you on high finance as if I was a small boy.
You behave like a small boy.
And small boys have to stay in minor positions and do what they're told, isn't that it?
If you like to put it that way.
If I like.
When you show me you're fitted to be a co-director of mine, I'll make you one, Martin. Now, I think it's time we were moving.
Oh, yes. We mustn't be late. The managing director must set a good example.
Nobody expects that kind of example from me. It just so happens that I'm interested in the firm.
Perhaps you have the incentive to be interested.
Since the allowance I make you and the salary you draw both come from the firm...
Oh, spare me the lecture. Come on, let's go. Are you going to drive?
No, you drive. I've got some papers to look at. Oh, now you haven't put my bag in the car.
All right, I'll get it. No harm done. It won't take a minute.
I should have thought you could at least have remembered that. I'm in a hurry.
Here's the bag, Mr. Stone. You'll want
Oh,
them.
I was just coming back for it. Thanks, Elsie.
Will you be in at the usual time this evening, sir?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, as Mrs. Stone is going to be away for a couple of days, you might as well take the time off.
Will it be all right, sir? I mean, what about you?
Oh, I'll have my meals down at the club. You pop off home at lunchtime today, Elsie. You needn't come back until Thursday.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Chief Cashier?
Oh, Davis, did you leave the £50 out for my wife? You know she's going to London tonight.
Yes, that's all right. I've just taken it up to Mrs. Stone.
Oh, good. Well, will you ask Wilkins to have the car outside at 4:45? I'm driving Mrs. Stone to the station.
Certainly, Mr. Stone. I'll see to that.
Thanks. Well, that's fixed. 5 minutes and I must go greet her.
What time shall I meet you, Martin?
Oh, suppose we say 5:30?
Where?
Well, I thought we might have a cocktail at the Grand, first of all.
Well, in that case, you better make it 6, darling. I want to change.
All right. 6 o'clock at the Grand, then.
Lovely. But I hope we don't run into old Higson again.
Oh, it's very unlikely. Anyway, there's no earthly reason why I shouldn't take my secretary for a drink, is there?
It shows what a considerate employer you are.
And what a fascinating secretary I've got. Oh. Martin Stone.
Oh, Martin, I shan't be through in time to get the 5 o'clock. I'll have to take the 6:15.
Well, what's the trouble, Janet?
No trouble. I want to check this contract of Rutherford's before I go.
Well, shall I order a taxi for you?
I told you I want you to drive me to the station. It won't hurt you to wait another hour.
Well, it seems a bit unnecessary.
Why? You're not doing anything particular tonight, are you?
Oh, all right, I'll see to it.
Martin,
Yes?
would you like to take a couple of days off and come with me?
Well, there's the weekly departmental meeting tomorrow. I should be there.
Very well, 6 o'clock then.
Anything wrong?
She's not going until the 6:15. Well, I've got to wait and drive her to the station.
Oh, is that all? I thought perhaps she wasn't going away at all.
Oh, there's no fear of that. Our managing director can smell new business. She wouldn't miss that.
And what's worrying you?
It's odd.
What?
Janet hasn't suggested that I went with her for a long time.
Just a sudden whim, I expect.
No, that isn't like Janet. She doesn't have sudden whims. She thinks things out carefully, and she never does the obvious. Oh, well, let's forget it. I wish she'd gone on the 5 o'clock, though.
It's only another hour to wait.
5 minutes too long.
Oh, darling, you say the nicest thing. What is it?
I thought I heard someone. Wait a minute. No, nothing. Nobody there.
Oh, you're getting jumpy, darling.
Yes, it won't do at all. All the same, Greta, I think you better go now. Janet might come down, and she'd wonder why you're still here.
All right. At the Grand, then?
I'll be there at 6:30.
Lovely. Oh, we'll have 2 whole days. Martin, what about her maid? Will she talk?
No, I've taken care of that. I told her this morning that she could take a couple of days off.
You think of everything, this tune.
It's a bit too loud. Ah, that's better. Soft and romantic, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, let's have some wine. Something to match the moment.
The moment?
The golden moment. A golden wine, a golden dress, and a golden girl. To you.
To us, darling.
You look wonderful.
Careful, you'll spill the wine.
Sorry, put your glass down.
No. Not yet. I want to talk.
You look very serious.
I am serious, Martin. That's why I want to talk.
What about?
About us and about your wife.
Well, why turn the radio off? And why do you have to mention Janet?
Because you can't discount her.
Look, why should she worry you? You don't care about her.
I care about me and about us. We have a few stolen moments.
There'll be others.
Dependent on your wife's decisions.
You haven't minded before.
I haven't said anything. I hoped I wouldn't have to. I thought perhaps you would.
What do you want me to do?
Oh, Martin, why are you so frightened of your wife?
I'm not.
Darling, let's try to be honest.
All right, what makes you think I'm frightened of Janet?
Everything you say and do, and everything you don't do.
I don't understand.
Do you love me?
You know I do.
Then let's go away together. Not like this, not a couple of days hurriedly snatched.
But you make longer trips.
A week, a fortnight? No, Martin, I mean for good.
What are you saying?
Come away with me. Leave your wife.
But I can't.
I see. Give me a cigarette, will you?
Well, agree to try and understand.
A cigarette? Thanks. You don't really love me.
Darling, I do love you, but...
That's what I mean.
But don't you see, Greedy? What you ask is impossible.
Impossible?
Look, I'd leave it tomorrow, but what would we live on?
I don't understand. You got money.
Not a penny. Oh, there's my salary at the works. Janet makes me an allowance.
And you'd lose both those. Yes, I see that. But you could get other work.
What other work? As a personnel manager? Reference. Last employer was my wife. She sacked me and is divorcing me.
Well, surely there must be something. What about before you married?
Oh, I had a private income, shares. But now they're worthless.
So you married Janet?
Well, Janet knew my position. It was a bargain, that's all.
What kind of bargain?
Well, Janet wanted a husband with social contacts. I wanted security. We got on well enough, and I thought it would work out, but... Well, it did for a while, but I didn't know how difficult she could be. We started quarreling. She taunted me, and then I met you.
Better if you hadn't.
No. Greta, you're not going to leave me, are you? I couldn't do without you.
But you can't do without Janet either. You need her money.
Greta.
You've admitted it. You've got to face things, Martin.
Well, there must be a way out, somehow.
The way out is for you to make a choice. You'll have to do it sometime.
Well, give me time, and I'll find a way. But you must go on seeing me. I'd be lost without you.
Don't you see? You've got to do something. We can't go on like this forever.
Say you love me. Say you love me enough to wait, darling.
It would appear you haven't been too lonely while I've been away, Martin.
Janet! I thought...
You thought I was safely in London, and you could enjoy yourself. Don't tell me the obvious.
Mrs. Stone, please understand.
Don't bother to explain, because I shouldn't believe you.
I'm not denying that Martin
Very
and I...
wise of you. Very wise indeed. Useless to waste your breath with denials when I can see quite plainly what you are.
You've no right to assume because I love your
that
husband...
you make a habit of loving husbands? I see. You're just a beginner.
I mean that I love him, which is more than you do.
Indeed. It looks as if you've loved yourself out of a job. Well, you've said your little piece, so now you can go. Go on, get out.
Martin...
Save your breath, my husband stays.
Martin, you have to make your choice now.
I said my husband stays. You obviously don't know him as well as I do.
Martin, if you don't come
He
now...
can't come. Now or any other time. You see, he hasn't any money.
And you think you can buy anything with yours, sitting on it like a bloated spider.
Get out. Get out of my house.
Martin.
Get out. Do you hear? Get out.
Martin.
Now I've got rid of that woman. We'll have a little talk, Martin.
And so ends Act One of our play. Millions of pounds invested in plant and equipment will not alone make a firm prosperous or win fame for its products. People are the deciding factor. The men and women who man the machines, create the designs, conduct the research, type the letters, and check the details essential to production, distribution, and sales. Close on 19,400 people are directly employed by General Motors Holdens, and the company is particularly proud of the harmonious relations existing between management and personnel in its 10 busy interstate plants. Every man who works for GMH knows he will get a fair go, and if he wants to better himself, he will be offered practical encouragement and the kind of opportunities only a large and expanding company can provide. Wages, for example, are high at General Motors Holdens. During the last financial year, GMH payrolls reached a record £20.75 million. Through the medium of the GMH service loading and other plans, hourly rate personnel alone received £1.75 million over and above the established award. But good money and excellent working conditions are only half the story. Later this evening, I shall be pleased to outline some of the social and educational activities which play such an important part in maintaining the well-being of the 19,400 Australians who make more and better things for more people at General Motors Holdens. And now Act 2 of the General Motors Hour production of Invitation to Murder.
I must remind you, Mr. Stone, as your counsel, that you're on trial for the murder of your wife. Now, you told us at yesterday's hearing how your wife discovered your liaison with Miss Pierce, and this entirely coincides with the evidence given by her. We know that Miss Pierce left the firm immediately and went to London. Did you see her again?
No, I'd never seen Greta again until the trial.
Until you saw her in court, precisely. Did you try to reach a reconciliation with your wife?
Yes, I tried everything, but Janet refused to listen to me.
And this went on for some time?
Yes, but Janet was immovable. After about a month, I was determined to have things out with her. But she wasn't easy to approach.
I told you to keep out of my room. Do I have to lock the door?
Janet, I must talk to you.
There's nothing to discuss.
But there is. Look, we can't go on like this. We hardly speak to each other in the house. You avoid me at home and you slight me at work. I'm not going to stand it anymore.
Indeed. That's very interesting. What are you going to do?
We must do something. We can't go on like this.
Perhaps you can't. I can.
But it's all so futile.
What do you suggest? A big reconciliation scene?
Oh, why not? If we're going to continue living together, we've got to come to some understanding. Or are you getting tired of me as a husband?
Not getting tired. I got tired of you about 2 years ago when I discovered you'd only married me for my money.
That's not true. I
Don't bother to try and justify yourself. I'm not interested.
If you really feel like that, why can't we part amicably? You don't want me, yet you force me to stay. Why?
I'll tell you why. Because I've bought you for what you're worth as a husband. Now you're going to keep your part of the bargain.
You can't make me.
Can't I? I think I can.
I can walk out?
Oh, yes, you could walk out, but you won't.
You're very sure.
Because I know you, Martin. Why didn't you walk out a month ago at your girlfriend's invitation?
I thought we might make it up.
You mean you thought you could carry on with your little affair and still get paid by me? Well, I've stopped that. And you don't like it, do you?
Don't drive me too far.
I'll drive you as far as I like. If you don't like it, you can go. Walk out now if you like. Go to your lady love. She's in London, as no doubt you know.
I gave you my word I wouldn't see her, and I've kept it.
Yes, you've kept it, all right. I've seen to that. No trips to London, Martin, or you're finished. Of course, you've spoken to her on the telephone.
You've no reason to...
Oh, I'm not worried about that. A telephone's a poor substitute for reality, isn't it? You only make it worse for yourself that way.
Why can't you accept the fact that I've stayed with you?
Oh, I have. But you're staying on my terms, not yours.
What do you mean?
You know what'll happen if you leave me, and you don't relish the prospect. You'd have to start working for your living. And you wouldn't like that.
I told you I'll stay with you.
I know you will, but you're going to behave yourself. Try and see that girl or any other and you're out. Out of here and out of the firm, on your neck.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Very clearly. And now, hadn't you better get along to the office?
Aren't you coming?
You know perfectly well I'm going up to London today. Pity you can't come. Don't worry, though. I shall be back late tonight.
Any instructions before you go?
You'll attend the weekly meeting, of course.
Well, naturally, they're bringing up the complaint about the late payment of wages.
Did you investigate the reason?
I spoke to the chief cashier. Davis says he's understaffed. He wanted to draw the money from the bank today.
Well?
I told him he'd have to draw it on Friday morning, as usual, and work harder.
You told him that? Davis has been with my firm for nearly 30 years, and you spoke to him like that? Haven't you any idea of handling staff?
Well, I don't see why you should...
Tell Davis he can draw the money today.
But it'll mean keeping it in the safe overnight. I don't think...
Exactly, you don't think. You never do think. Tell him to draw the money today. Those are my instructions. Tell him so.
Very well.
Oh, Martin.
Yes?
One more point.
What is it now?
I'll set your mind at rest about one thing. I haven't altered my will. You still get my money when I die.
Why tell me that?
You tried to get the keys of my desk. Don't bother to deny it. Your anxiety is perfectly natural. But to save you the trouble, the will is at my solicitor's. You can call and see it any time you like. I've given them instructions.
Do you think I care?
Oh, but you do. And I know you do. That's why I'm telling you. Behave yourself and you get your reward. Eventually. Of course, you may have to wait a long time.
Aren't you afraid that I might try and kill you?
You might like to, but you haven't got the nerve.
Don't be too sure of that.
Do you think you can frighten me? If you want to kill me, go ahead. You've only got to put your hands round my throat and squeeze. Well, why don't you? Because you haven't got the nerve.
Oh, is that my London call? Thank you. Greta, how are you, darling?
Martin, I asked you not to phone me at the office.
Well, I had to speak to you. Are you all right?
Yes. Now I've made the break, I'm getting over things, settling down.
Oh, Greta, everything's going to be all right.
Oh, Martin, you've said that so many times. We must be sensible. It's all over. I see now that you couldn't give up your position. I shouldn't have asked you. I realize that. You would only have hated me if you'd lost everything.
Yeah, but don't you understand? I'm going to leave her.
Why? What's happened?
Well, I thought of a way. I can't tell you now, but trust me, Greta. Wait another month.
Has Janet agreed?
Oh, will you wait, darling?
I'll wait. But not indefinitely, Martin.
Another month. That's all.
All right.
Oh, I'll ring you tomorrow. Come in. Oh, yes, Davis.
The check for the wages, Mr. Stone. I think there's some mistake.
Mistake?
Why, yes. Miss Brand said you wanted the check cashed today.
Oh, that's right.
But we don't draw the money for the wages until Friday morning, Mr. Stone.
We've been late paying the wages. Draw the money today. It'll give you more time.
But the money will be on the premises overnight.
Well, what of it? We've got a safe, haven't we?
Yes, but it seems an unnecessary risk.
We've had money on the premises before.
I know, but I've never liked it. Suppose anything happens.
Why should anything happen? Anyway, those were Mrs. Stone's instructions before she left this morning.
Yes, but I still don't really think...
You don't have to. You're not the managing director.
No, sir.
And neither am I. So we just carry out the managing director's instructions. Hey, Davis?
Very good, sir. But I hope you'll remember that I queried the instructions, sir.
Janet! Why, you're back early.
Well, don't just stand there. What's the matter with you?
Oh, nothing. It's just that I was surprised to see you. You said you'd be late.
So you don't regard 11 as late? And where have you been? Don't tell me you've been working until this time.
Oh, I called in at the Grand for a drink.
I always thought the bar closed at 10. Have they taken to serving drinks after hours?
Well, I drove around for a little while. Well, why shouldn't I? Do I have to account to you for every movement?
Don't bluster, Martin. Because if I choose to insist, you do have to account for every movement.
Oh, all right, I'll get the map and show you where I went.
Don't bother, I'm not interested. I merely wondered why you were so nervous. Now, who on earth can that be at this time of night?
Well, I'll see. It's probably a wrong number.
No, I'll answer it. Hello? No, this is Mrs. Stone speaking. Yes, Mr. Stone is here. Who wants him? I see.
Who is it?
The police, Martin.
The police? What do they want?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. I was speaking to my husband. Oh, I see. Shall we come down? Yes, I understand that. All right, in the morning then, Inspector. Goodbye.
Well, what are you looking at me like that for?
It seems I've underestimated your talents, Martin.
I don't know what you mean.
Your concern about the welfare of the firm. I should have listened to you. You see, you were perfectly right in thinking it was dangerous to leave money on the premises overnight. You say there were two men, Inspector?
Yes, Mrs. Stone. One struck the night watchman, the other blew open the safe. We've caught one of them. He was shot in the arm.
And the other?
I'm afraid he got clean away with the money. Drove off in a car.
Oh, that's bad. What about the car?
Nobody got a good look at it, sir. Black, they think.
Well, that doesn't help you very much then, Inspector. There are thousands of black cars. It was probably stolen anyway.
Quite possibly, sir.
What about the man you caught? Can't he give any information about his confederate, or won't he talk?
Oh, he's talking, all right. He's talked quite a lot.
What did he say?
Well, I'm coming to that in a moment, sir. There's a little point I'd like to get cleared up first.
What is it?
I understand that you gave the cashier instructions to draw the money for the wages on the Thursday, Mr. Stone.
They were my instructions before I left for London, Inspector.
Oh, I see. Might I ask why, madam?
Well, the banks don't open till 10. I didn't think they had long enough to make up the wages. They've been late paying out before.
I see. You didn't tell the chief cashier yourself.
I told my husband. He's the personnel manager.
And your husband, of course, passed on the instructions to Mr. Davis. Well, that clears that up. And now this man Simpkins.
Oh, the man you caught?
Yes, sir. He's one of the workmen here, isn't he?
Yes.
So he'd know, of course, where the gelignite was stored.
Oh, everybody knows where the whereabouts of the explosive shed.
But I thought you said it was the other man.
Oh, yes. It was the other man who blew the safe.
How do you know?
The night watchman heard the explosion just before he was hit from behind. And Simpkins hit the night watchman. He admits it. What I'm wondering is whether the other man worked in the firm as well.
Quite possibly. We're over 600 on the payroll, Inspector.
In any case, surely they were both in it together.
I don't think so, sir. The other man shot Simpkins.
If his story is true.
He's got a bullet in his arm, sir.
They might have still been working together. Perhaps they quarreled over the money.
Well, surely in that case Simpkins would give him away now.
What does Simpkins say?
According to Simpkins, he never even saw the other man.
Then he can't identify him.
No, sir.
Then how did Simpkins get shot?
Well, Simpkins says he saw a light and climbed over the wall to investigate. He heard a noise, rushed in, and hit the night watchman in mistake for a burglar.
It was an odd mistake to make.
Yes, sir. Anyway, as he hit the night watchman, he says he heard the explosion. And hit the night watchman in mistake for a burglar.
It was an odd mistake to make.
Yes, sir. Anyway, as he hit the night watchman, he says he heard the explosion, so he rushed upstairs. He saw a man coming out of the cashier's office, and the man fired twice and hit Simpkins in the arm. Then the man got away.
This whole story sounds a bit thin to me.
I quite agree, sir. He broke in after the money, all right, but the other man got there first. But if Simpkins sticks to his story, we may have a job to pin anything on him. You see, part of it is obviously true.
How do you know?
The bullet that Miss Simpkins lodged in the plaster. We've recovered it. That shows where Simpkins was standing. We found 2 spent cartridges at the other end of the passage outside the cashier's office.
If the cartridges were ejected, it must have been an automatic pistol then.
That's right, madam. 38, probably a Luger, I think.
Can you tell from the cartridges?
Pretty well. We'll be able to identify the gun they were fired from, too, when we find it.
I see. A Luger 38, you think?
Yes, madam. Do you know of anyone who has one?
No, I was just thinking there can't be all that many about. Don't you agree, Martin?
Yes.
It'll turn up sooner or later. Probably when we least expect it.
Sit down, Martin. Now we're back at home, we can talk undisturbed.
What about?
Why, the robbery, of course.
What about the robbery?
I want to know what you've done with the money. £9,000. Where is it?
Have you gone crazy?
Or would you like me to ring the police and tell them I know you have a Luger 38?
That was a long time ago. I haven't seen it for years. I don't even know where it is.
Then we must find it and prove your innocence.
Oh, don't be absurd. How will finding an old gun prove my innocence?
I should imagine the police can tell if a gun has been fired recently. The inspector said they could match the cartridges with the gun.
I tell you, I haven't seen it for years. Why should you think I did the robbery? The whole thing's fantastic.
If your gun hasn't been fired, I'll apologize most humbly.
Well, that's something you'll never know because I haven't the faintest idea where it is.
I'll ring for the maid.
What do you want Elsie for?
Perhaps she's seen the gun recently.
She hasn't. Oh, you're just being spiteful.
No, I'm only trying to help you to clear yourself.
Look, I've known...
Oh, yes, you have. And I'm going to see that you do. Elsie is going to look for your gun and she's going to go on looking until she finds it. Well?
Janet, don't be a fool. Think of the scandal.
I thought you'd break. Now, where's the money? Quickly, before Elsie comes in. Where is the money, Martin?
It's in a briefcase in my bedroom.
You rang, madam?
Oh, yes, Elsie. Mr. Stone has left his briefcase upstairs in his bedroom. Would you mind getting it for me?
Oh, certainly, madam. Whereabouts is it?
Where did you say it was, Martin?
It's in the bottom of my wardrobe, but it's locked. You'll need the wardrobe key.
Thank you, sir.
Janet, what are you going to do?
I haven't decided yet.
I can put it back.
Can you? How?
Well, we could find it.
Find it? Where would we find it?
Well, I'd say we found it in a ditch along the road. The man drove off in a car. We could say he must have dropped it.
Why should he drop it in a ditch out of his car?
We could make some marks as if he'd skidded. The police wouldn't worry too much as long as the money was recovered. And if you back me
I
up...
certainly wouldn't back you up on a ridiculous story like that. You know, Martin, I don't think you make a very good criminal. Oh, I know you're only an amateur. But you seem to be a failure at that as you are at everything.
Well, you drove me to it.
Even your excuses are so pitifully weak.
Here it is, madam.
Oh, thank you, Elsie. My word, isn't it bulky? Full of papers, I suppose. You must have been working very hard, Martin.
Will that be all, madam?
Oh, yes, thank you, Elsie. That's all I want. We'll have tea in half an hour.
Very good, madam.
Now, I'll have the key to the briefcase, Martin.
Janet, you've got to keep quiet about this. You daren't give me away to the police.
Daren't?
You couldn't bear the name of Stone being dragged through the police courts.
Yes, you would think of that. The key, Martin.
Promise me...
The key, Martin. Hand it over. That's better. £9,000 in hard cash. Quite a useful sum. Oh. And one Luger 38, which you hadn't seen for years. 2 shots fired. The police would be interested. Just think. This gun could send you to prison for 5 years.
Janet, please.
Don't whine. I'm not going to say anything to the police.
Well, what about the money?
It stays here in my private safe as a guarantee of your good behavior.
I don't understand.
You don't have to. All that concerns you in the future, Martin, is that you do what you're told. You may not like it very much, but you haven't any choice, have you?
Oh, it doesn't make any difference.
Oh, yes, it does. You can't walk out now, ever. I suppose you reckoned on starting a new life with your girlfriend on the proceeds of the robbery. No question of that either. Now or ever, is there?
What do you expect me to say?
Nothing. I'll cover up for you so you won't go to prison. But you won't go to your girlfriend either. When I crack the whip, you're going to dance. Now, pass me that gun. Well? Why don't you fire? Don't just stand there pointing it at me. Squeeze the trigger.
You don't care, do you?
Why should I? I'm going to die anyway.
What do you mean?
I've been having a lot of pain lately. I went to see a specialist whilst I was in town. That's why I got back earlier.
And did he tell you?
Yes. He gave me 2 months. Possibly 3 with care.
Well, I never dreamt. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, don't bother to pretend. You're longing to kill me just now.
Yeah, but I lost my head for a moment, but... This?
Martin, spare me the mask of sorrow. Why, you're already thinking of how you're going to enjoy yourself when I'm dead.
Oh, Janet, don't say things like that. Look, we mustn't quarrel.
You mean you mustn't quarrel? You must play the considerate husband, in case I alter my will.
Oh, Janet, at a time like
But
this...
don't worry, I shan't. Not because of any affection, Martin. But it will amuse me to see you hoping.
How can you say such things?
And as long as I don't alter it, you'll put up with anything to get my money. And you'll have to put up with a lot.
Don't you just saying that to torment me?
Oh, no. The specialist was quite definite. Just think, Martin. That £9,000 is nothing to what you'll have in 2 or 3 months. But you're going to have to earn it. I'm going to enjoy myself while I'm still here. Watching you writhe.
And so ends Act 2 of our play. General Motors Holden's is big business. Big not only in the sense of its physical resources, the number of motor vehicles it produces, but big, too, in its conceptions and aims. Because it is big in outlook, GMH has an added sense of responsibility towards the 19,400 employees who have helped and are continuing to help in the manufacture of its products and the growth of the company. For instance, when a man joins GMH, every encouragement and amenity is available to ensure his training and advancement over a lengthy period of years. In this connection, GMH is particularly proud of its 25-year club. As the name implies, membership is open only to employees who have completed 25 years in the service of the company. The GMH 25-year club was founded in 1949. Since then, 1,067 employees have qualified for membership, and the majority are still with the company. Inaugural dinners are now being held in each state to admit this year's members, each of whom receives a suitably inscribed gold watch. In other ways, too, GMH takes care of its employees. There is a suggestion plan offering money prizes of up to £1,000 for ideas that will increase efficiency and production. The GMH Group Life Assurance Plan provides assurance protection to both hourly rate and salaried personnel. GMH apprenticeships carry free training and diploma courses at senior technical schools. Cadetships provide special free schooling and time off for study. And under the GMH Overseas Scholarship Plan, suitable technical candidates are selected each year for specialized courses at the General Motors Institute in America. GMH, General Motors Holden's, a link in the chain of Australia's progress, a partner in Australia's future.
Here is the final act in the General Motors Hour production of Invitation to Murder.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. You've given a very frank account of the events leading up to the terrible tragedy. But before I ask you to continue with your account of that fatal day, there are a couple of points I'm sure the jury would like to have made clear. This visit your wife said she made to a specialist in London. Did she amplify that at all at a later date?
Yes, he spoke of it on the day that...
Quite. Then no doubt you'll be telling the jury about that in its proper context. Did she tell you which specialist she went to see?
No, she would never tell me that.
I see. Then there is no means of checking with the specialist?
No. I asked her several times, but she wouldn't discuss it.
Then I take it your relations were still somewhat strained.
They got worse. She humiliated me in every possible way, even at the works, in front of the staff.
Which brings me to the second point. She still attended her business then, in spite of her health?
Yes, at any rate for another month or so. Then she gradually took to going less and less.
Didn't she give any explanation to the staff at the works?
Well, she said she was a little run down and was going to take things easy for a while.
So she didn't tell anyone the real reason?
Not as far as I know.
Didn't you tell anyone?
Well, no. Janet wouldn't allow it. She told me on no account was anybody to know.
Did she give any reason for this attitude?
She said she couldn't stand people making a fuss and that it was her business and her business alone as to how and when she died.
Didn't you try and reason with her about this somewhat odd attitude?
Well, it was impossible to reason with Janet. She said that I was there to do what I was told, and if I didn't, I'd have to take the consequences.
Her own doctor was attending her. You've heard his testimony that she never gave him any idea that there was anything seriously wrong with her.
Well, but of course she didn't tell him. She said no one could do anything for her, so no one was going to know.
Quite so. I think that gives the jury a good idea of Mrs. Stone's attitude of mind. Now, regarding the evidence of the maid, Elsie Charters, concerning the fatal day, you've heard what she said about the letter to Mr. Bryant. The letter itself has been produced in evidence. Do you dispute any of this?
Oh, no, it's all quite true, but there's another reason for it. You see, I was down at the works that day. Janet was always sending me on errands like a messenger, and she gave Elsie the letter before I came back.
Oh, Elsie, I want you to take this letter for me.
To the post, madam?
No, I want you to take it round yourself. It's very important, so I want you to go right away.
Yes, madam. Is there anything you want before I go?
No, Mr. Stone will be back shortly. Is the address plain?
Mr. L. Bryant, Bryant and Windlesham, solicitors, 37 High Street, Cranford. Yes, madam.
Take a bus down and give it to Mr. Bryant personally.
I'll see he gets it.
When he's read the letter, I'll expect he'll come straight here. So you can ask him to bring you back with him.
Oh, thank you, madam. Is there anything else you want me to get while I'm out?
Oh, is there plenty of medicine there?
Yes, madam. Nearly a full bottle.
Good. Then I've got everything I want. Run along now. I think Mr. Stone has just come in.
Very good, madam.
Oh, Elsie, you can get tea now.
I'm afraid you'll have to wait, Martin. Elsie is going out on the message for me.
Oh, I could get it first if you like, madam. It won't take a minute.
No, go right away, Elsie.
Yes, madam.
Couldn't she have waited 5 minutes?
No, I give the orders here.
I'm not likely to forget that.
See, you don't. Look out of the window and tell me if she's on her way.
She's just going down the drive. I don't see what can be so urgent.
You will. You will.
Are you up to something?
What a suspicious mind you have. What could I be up to?
Well, here's the stuff from the office for you to sign.
Put it down there. I'll attend to it later.
Well, some of it should go today.
I said I'd attend to it later.
Oh, it suits yourself.
I intend to. Pour me out a dose of medicine, will you? It's on the table over there.
All right. Here you are. Anything else?
Yes. Plug in that tape recorder and put it here beside me.
Very well. Is that all right?
Admirable. Now, sit down, Martin. We're going to have a little talk.
What about?
About you, so listen carefully. After all, this will be our last conversation.
What do you mean?
I mean I shall be dead very shortly. That gladdens your heart, doesn't it?
Well, what do you expect after the hell you've given me these last few months?
The hell you've been going through these last few months is nothing to the hell you're going through the next few months.
What new devilry are you up to now?
Elsie will have caught the bus by now.
Well?
She's on her way to my solicitors.
You've altered your will.
No, I've kept my word. You'll inherit my money, Martin. But I don't think you'll enjoy it very long.
Why not?
All these months you've been waiting for me to die, so that you could go to your girlfriend with a fortune. But it's not going to work out that way. You'll never see her again.
What have you done?
That letter Elsie's taken to my solicitors. I've told them I've just found out about the robbery.
Why, you devil, I could kill you for that.
Yes, that's exactly what Mr. Bryant will think. I've told him in the letter that I'm afraid you may try and kill me.
But I haven't. All right, I'll face them about the robbery. I'll tell them...
Ah, but it isn't a charge of robbery you'll have to face.
What then?
A charge of murder.
Murder? You're crazy.
No, not when they find the evidence.
Evidence? What evidence?
They'll have the evidence of the robbery. Then when they find that you've been plotting with your mistress to kill me...
But that's ridiculous.
It was very silly of you to telephone that woman from here. But then you are very silly, Martin. It's wonderful how you can take a recording of a telephone conversation from an extension.
So that's why you got the tape recorder.
Yes. Now listen to what you said.
Hello?
Oh, Greta, this is Martin.
Who?
Martin. Look, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, just a minute. I'll shut the door. That's better. Hello, Martin. How are you?
What was all the noise?
Just a party in progress. I can't talk for long.
Well, Greta, darling, you sound odd.
Martin, it's all finished, you know. I told you a month ago it was no use coming on.
But everything's going to be all right now, darling.
You always say that.
But it is. We'll be able to get married in a few months.
You mean you and Janet have agreed to terms for a divorce?
No. In a month's time, Janet will be dead.
There we are. Interesting, isn't it? I wonder what the police will think of it.
But the rest... I told Greta you were ill. I explained what had happened.
And I didn't take it down. What a pity. This sounds quite different, doesn't it?
A tape recording can't be used as evidence.
Not in a court of law, no. But it'll give the police some ideas to work on, won't it?
The police won't have this. I'll see to that.
Don't bother to destroy it. You don't think this is the only recording, do you?
Where are the others?
In my safe with the stolen money and the gun.
Well, where's the key to your safe? Give it to me.
Wouldn't you like it? You'd be able to destroy all the evidence. Oh, well, you'll have an interesting time hunting for it. Not very much time, of course. Mr. Bryant will be coming here at all speed when he reads my letter.
Well, I'll tell him you've taken leave of your senses, that you're crazy.
That you're crazy, you mean? You're beginning to get a bit crazy with fear already, aren't you, Martin? That's nothing to what's in front of you, though. You might, of course, plead insanity, but I don't think you'll get away with it.
Get away with what?
The murder charge.
You're raving. I haven't killed you. You know I haven't.
Oh, yes, I know. But it's the judge and jury you'll have to convince. You may find it difficult.
But this whole thing's fantastic. They'll know you died from natural causes. The specialist...
I didn't give my real name, and I haven't told my doctor. I haven't told anyone. Neither have you. I've seen to that.
But I'll tell them now. They'll examine you. They'll find out.
Yes, they'll find out. They'll find the poison.
Poison? What nonsense are you talking?
The poison I put in my medicine, the medicine you gave me.
Oh, no. couldn't.
Don't confuse the unlikely with the impossible, Martin. I've taken an easy way out for myself. Quite painless and peaceful. And I've arranged an appointment for you with the hangman.
True, you couldn't do such a thing. It'd be murder.
That's exactly what the police will think.
You won't get away with it. I'll...
Going to pour the medicine away, Martin. Be sure you hide the bottle, and hide it quickly. They'll still find it, you know. They'll search until they do find it, no matter how small the fragments. And what are you going to say when they ask where the medicine is? Elsie will remember there was a full bottle. I carefully drew her attention to it.
Oh, Janet, you can't do this monstrous thing. You can't die, knowing you're going to kill me.
There's nothing that gives me more pleasure. I'm dying happy, knowing I've settled everything.
I'll ring the doctor. I'll tell him now.
Yes, do that. He might get here before I die. That would be perfect. It'll be so nice to tell him how you poisoned me. Changed your mind. What a pity. I should have enjoyed forgiving you with my dying breath. It would have been such a nice touch, don't you think?
Janet, have mercy. You can't be so inhuman.
Beginning to get really frightened now, aren't you, Martin?
You must write a note. Tell them you committed suicide. Now, look, here's a pen and paper. For pity's sake, write and tell them that you did it. Tell them that you've taken poison.
Yes, I'll write. And tell them you've murdered me.
No! Janet, have mercy. Have pity. Look, you've had your revenge. You're driving me mad. I'll do anything. Anything you say, only write and tell them.
Just think. If you had the key of my safe, you could destroy the other evidence. And anyway, you could take the money and escape. You might get out of the country.
Yes. Yes, it's a chance. Janet, give it to me. Well, tell me where it is. You can't be so heartless as to condemn me without a chance. The key, Janet. The key.
The key?
Oh, you've got it?
Yes, I had it all the time. Here, in my hand. Such a little key.
Well, give it to me.
No, keep back. Unless you want me to swallow it.
Janet, give me that key.
You might almost call it the key of life or death. I put it in my mouth. Watch my throat as I swallow.
Oh, no, you don't. Give me that key. Spit it out.
You're choking me.
Give me the key. Give me the key.
No. Martin, I haven't got...
You're not going to swallow it. Give it to me. Janet. Janet?
John Martin Stone, after having had a fair trial, you have been found guilty of willful murder. I must say that on the evidence they have heard, I cannot see that the jury could have returned any other verdict. Have you anything to say before I pass sentence?
Yes, it wasn't murder. Janet meant me to kill her. She knew she was dying, and she planned it all. Don't you see? She planned it from the very beginning. I didn't mean to strangle her. She told me she'd taken poison to get me hanged. She told me.
You are admitting now, as you did in the witness box at your trial, that you killed your wife. The only defense that you have offered is your story that your wife told you she had taken poison. But, as you heard from the evidence given by the pathologist, there was no trace of poison to be found either in her body or in the medicine. In fact, there is not a single shred of evidence to support your story of your wife's attempted suicide. In any case, even if it were true, according to the law, you are still guilty of murder. Of course, had they been able to believe your story, the jury might have seen fit to add a recommendation for mercy to their verdict. The fact that they have not done so shows that they have, quite rightly, given no credence to your fantastic assertions. I have therefore no other course than to pronounce the prescribed sentence. John Martin Stone, The sentence of this court is that you be taken to a prison with a lawful place of execution, and there hanged by the neck until you are dead.
And so ends the General Motors R production of Invitation to Murder, written by Frank Rennie, in which you heard the following players. As the judge, Geoffrey King. Elsie, Patty Crocker. Davis, Charles McCallum. The inspector, Brian Anderson. Defense counsel, John Alden. Greta, Wynne Nelson. And as Martin and Janet Stone, you heard our stars, Nigel Lovell and Thelma Scott. The General Motors Hour is directed by Harry Harper, who produced tonight's play. 2 weeks from tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the General Motors Hour will present Tony, Her Son, an original play by the American playwright Richard Wendley. It is a powerful story of the possessive love of a mother for her son. We shall star Lyndall Barber. And now, a closing message. A good car is a prized possession. To get the best out of your investment, you need good roads to run it on. If you're not happy about the state of the roads you use, wherever you are, wherever you go, talk, think, and campaign for better roads. And remember, 2 weeks from tonight, the General Motors Hour production of Tony, Her Son, starring Lyndall Barber. Now, this is John Deese saying good night to you all from the General Motors Hour, which now signs off from the Macquarie Network and cooperating stations throughout Australia. The General Motors Hour. General Motors Holdens, through the Macquarie Network and cooperating stations in all states, present Marsha Acres, starring Marcia Hathaway. This is John Deese introducing our play. Marsha Acres had been away from her hometown for some years. Our play begins just after she has returned to stay with her sister. Marsha's ideas have developed, and her ambition has grown during her absence, so that her coming back has a very strong impact upon the small community she rejoins. Our play tells of that impact and what stemmed from it. As Marsha Acres, we star Marcia Hathaway, with Lionel Stevens, Francis Worthington, Ken Fraser, Marion Johns, John Tate, Moya O'Sullivan, Keith Buckley, Al Thomas, and Richard Davies. The play will be produced by Harry Harper. Ladies and gentlemen, Act 1 of the General Motors Hour production of Marsha Acres.
So, 6 years ago, she leaves this town like it was poison. Today, she comes back like it was honey. Okay, she's back, but why must she move in here?
Because Marsha is my sister and she belongs here.
Look, honey, why can't she go to a hotel?
Oh, Jake, she's my sister.
And I'm your husband, and your husband don't want your sister moving in here, Patty.
She can hear us.
Good. I want her to.
Oh, really, Marsha, don't pay any attention to Jake.
She better pay attention to Jake. Listen, we got one room and one bedroom here. This is a dump. You don't want to stay here, Marsha. Look, they redecorated the hotel 3 years ago. It's real comfortable.
You might think of me what I'd like.
Patty, I'm thinking of us. She's no good for you and me. Trouble plus. That's Marsha.
Oh, Marsha, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to listen to this. Jake Callahan, you'd better understand that my sister stays right here.
Marsha, you're going to say something? Marsha, there's nothing in this town who interests you. Why'd you come back?
I was born in Newbury, remember, Jake, dear? Marsha's a Newbury gal. After 6 years in the big city, I'm tired. I want to come home. It's that simple.
Nothing's that simple with you. Judging by them clothes, you did okay for yourself in the big city.
We both knew I would, didn't we?
Yes, sir. A real big-time success.
You do look just wonderful, Marsha.
Yeah, how does a small-town girl manage it? Exactly.
The way anyone manages success. You know what you want, and you work hard to get it.
Work hard? You?
Oh, now, stop it, Jake. Marsha, you'll have to excuse Jake.
As you can see, he's got his arm in a sling. He had an accident. He hasn't worked for 3 months, and, well, he's worried and on edge.
That's not her business.
Marcia, what I mean
I
is...
know. Poor Jake. I'll make allowances. Well, now that welcoming speeches are over, where do I lay my head?
Oh, in there. I'll just clean up a little for you.
Relax, Jake. It won't be for long.
Yeah. How long?
Jake H. Callahan. H for hospitality.
You know, this town won't take you back so easy.
This town will open its arms to little Marsha wide.
I want to see that.
You will, Jake, dear. You will.
Here we are, Reverend Withers. Deeds and titles, 1870, 1880. You can look up things like this here, or step over there, pay a traffic fine and a dog license.
Yes, very convenient.
Mr. Amos over there, he's buying a dog license. You'd think he was paying $2,000 instead of $2,000. All the fuss he made. Richest man in town. That's his son Alden with him.
Yes, I know.
When does the new chapel go up on this property, Reverend?
Next spring, supposing our building fund is successful. I'm most optimistic about that, by the way.
Oh, good morning, Reverend. Or is it a good morning?
God's sunshine was never more abundant, Mrs. Adams.
Well, I'm that aggravated I didn't notice the sunshine. Marsha Acres has come back.
Marsha Acres?
Oh, has she indeed?
I passed her on the street, this close, and she was brazen enough to smile.
Why do you suppose she's come back?
Well, I don't know, but I, for one, want no part of her.
I never knew Marsha well. I've been curious about the resentment there seems to be towards her.
Well, did you ever see that girl inside your church, Reverend?
Well,
Any church? She never went to church.
Well, that's unfortunate, of course, but it's hardly sufficient to...
Well, I say, if this town wasn't good enough for her 6 years ago, it isn't good enough for her now.
I agree.
Little Miss High and Mighty. Oh, she had a trick, you know. Made you feel like the clothes you were wearing smelled of mothballs.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Don't you suppose that was just, well, it was Marsha's way?
Well, it's the wrong way to get along in this town. Anyway, it just wasn't that. Oh, not that anything was ever proved, mind you, but there was talk.
Talk?
Harry Ellis admitted right out that he was crazy about her, and his wife not in her grave 2 years.
Really, Mrs. Adams, don't you think that...
Oh, I'm not one to gossip. As I said, nobody ever proved anything against her. But I do know this. They're whetting up their knives. Heaven help Marsha Acres.
Jake?
Yeah?
I'd forgotten how hot an Indian summer could be. Patty's sleeping like a baby. How does she do it? Jake, you haven't even been to bed. Jake, I'm sorry about the accident.
Yeah?
Well, you can't get comfortable on that couch. I'll bunk out here and you...
No. You go back to bed, will you, Marcia?
Patty says you haven't worked in 3 months.
Patty talks over her head sometimes.
And you don't get compensation. The accident happened away from your work. Wasn't that it?
Yeah.
Well, even you two can't live on love. I've got plenty of money. Let me lend you enough
No.
Okay, forget it. You weren't very nice to me yesterday. You haven't been very nice today. I'm not poison, Jake.
You are to me.
To us, you and Patty, Mr. and Mrs. United we stand, divided we... What am I to you alone, Jake?
Not a thing.
Not even poison? I'm so relieved. It does sound silly, doesn't it? The way you carried on that summer. I've always been glad that didn't happen after you married my sister.
Patty doesn't know anything about that. About you and me.
What is there to know? A schoolboy crush?
Whatever it was, I don't want her to hear about it.
All right, Jake.
You know, she's got a crazy idea about you. She thinks you're a great woman. She worships you.
And Jake, who knows better, is afraid I'll disillusion her.
Yeah, that's right. Marsha, I want to know one thing. Are you back in Newbury for keeps?
For a long, long time.
Like I keep saying, there's nothing here for you.
There's everything here for me.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. You know, you got what you were after away from this town. You picked up a kind of polish. You got clothes to burn. You just now offered to lend me money. I'm not asking how you got it
You
all.
should, Jake. It makes good listening. Or maybe you wouldn't think so. I persuaded people to help me. Lots of people. Men, women.
You used them, you mean?
Why not?
And if anybody got hurt in the rush, it was his lookout.
I'd forgotten how sentimental you are. In my book, people are meant to be used. The trick is not to let them know it. Huh. You think I'm a bad person to talk this way, don't you?
No? What I think isn't important.
You bet it's not. I grew up hating this town. You know why? Because I couldn't have the good things that were in it. Something like this was for me, a 3-room flat on Main Street over the bakery.
And that's not good enough for Marsha Acres?
I'll tell you what's good enough for Marsha Acres. A big house full of flowers and music. Well, with candles and crystal chandeliers and soft gray carpet all over. I want the feel of silk against my legs, my body. I want clothes hanging in a closet and coats, fur coats, all thick and warm and shining like they're alive. And most of all, I want people to smile and bow, to respect me, to wish they were me. That's what's good enough. That's what I came home to get.
How? By playing this town or everybody in it for fools?
You'll see. Marsha has a plan. Step by step, up to the big prize.
Huh. What big prize?
A man, silly. Or didn't I mention that I expect to get married?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't believe you did.
I haven't decided who yet. But give me 6 weeks and I'll have this town wrapped around my finger. Keep your eyes open and see how it's done.
Good morning, Mr. Adams, Mrs. Adams.
Morning, Brother.
See you next Sunday. Mr. Amos. Why, it's Miss Acres.
Good morning, Mr. Withers.
Good morning, my dear. What a pleasure you could be with us at church this morning. Yes, indeed, a real pleasure.
And now, ladies, let me point out that someone has to head this committee for the auxiliary. Oh, I know it's hard work and a thankless chore, but it's got to be done, ladies. Now, I'll ask once again for a volunteer.
I'll be happy to do it, Mrs. Adams.
Why, Marsha Acres. You're volunteering to work for the auxiliary?
Yes.
It's a wonderful idea. A babysitting service in Newbury. It's just wonderful, Marsha. My Ben and I haven't been out for weeks. Oh, we're so grateful.
I'm the one who's grateful. I love kids.
What did you say?
I said, don't worry about a thing. I love kids.
Well, I'll say this. The best worker the community chest ever had in this town is Marsha Acres.
The idea was Miss Acres. Yes, splendid fundraising idea. It's going to help us to reach our goal.
My dear, of course I'm pleased. I sponsored Marsha for membership, you know.
Hello? Oh, no, Marsha isn't in, Mrs. Sellers. Yes, I'll ask her to call you. Goodbye.
Why lie about it?
What, Jake?
Why not say she's still sleeping and be done with it?
Oh, I've got to get breakfast.
In a minute.
I don't lie to anybody about anything.
Okay, I give up. Look, let's not be angry anymore. Okay?
Oh, that's perfectly silly. I'm not angry.
Well, Patty, what is it?
What is what?
Well, something's wrong between us. You know that.
I don't know any such thing. Look, Marsha will be getting up and her eggs aren't ready.
She can go hungry 2 minutes. Has everything around here got to depend on when she gets up and when she goes to bed and what she does and how she does it? Hey, that's a new dress.
Yes. Marsha gave it to me.
I asked you not to take any more clothes from your sister.
I know.
Well?
Well, what's so wrong
Well,
about
you try to
it?
copy her too much as it is. You know how I feel about her giving you things, and you take them behind my back.
Behind your back? Oh, because you can't afford to buy me a new dress. You hate it when... Oh, Jake, I'm sorry.
I know.
I didn't mean... I don't want you to buy me... I don't need...
I know.
Everything would be all right. We wouldn't fight like this, only...
Only what?
If only you'd be different.
How different?
You know.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yes.
I don't. What? Look. Just how different?
Nicer to Marsha. Don't you see how hard it is for me? I'm in between the two of you. I love you both.
Well, that's easy. Send her to a hotel.
No, Jake.
All right, then. I can't be any different about her than I am.
But you can.
I can't, and you can't be any different than you are.
Oh, all right, all right.
Look, the answer's for your sister to pack up and get out of here.
Hello.
Hello.
The x-rays weren't good yesterday?
What?
Your arm. Is the healing slow or what?
X-rays are okay.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sounded so growly. I thought you'd had bad news.
No.
Patty, get coffee for Marsha, will you, sweet?
Oh, Mrs. Sellers phoned. She wants you to call her?
No.
What?
I said no. I'll let her call me back.
Oh, I guess you know what you're doing.
Jake,
Mm-hmm.
you'd owe me money.
How's that?
If we bet, I mean. Newbury has forgiven the prodigal daughter all. Everybody's snuggling up real cozy.
Well, congratulations.
Your eggs will be ready in 2 minutes. Here's coffee.
You're an angel.
I sure get it.
Thanks. You know, Jake, the theory is give instead of take. At first, that is. It hasn't been easy. Give with one hand that ye may take with both. They ought to teach that in public schools. Hello? Who's this?
Do you have to ask about that photograph in the paper?
No, but I'd forgotten that was part of Newbury. Alden Drake, our town's own authentic boy wonder. Success at 25, millionaire at 30, still a bachelor at 35. Jake?
Yeah?
Is he still a bachelor?
Oh, I guess so. I don't keep track. But you're over your head there, Marcia.
He's a man. A smart girl's not over her head with any man.
Look, honey, plenty of smart girls have found out different with Alden Drake.
None of them was Marsha Acres. Understand, I'm not sure I want Mr. Drake.
No. One of the richest men in the state.
But rich how? In credit, land, cash, what are his liabilities? I gotta know things about a man, like how often he trades in a car, what tax deduction he takes, how good an insurance risk he is.
Hey, you serious?
Absolutely.
You know, you make a husband sound like a business investment.
The right husband is.
Well, I guess that's for you.
I'll get it. Hello? Oh, yes, Mrs. Sellers. Yes.
Breakfast, you two, before it gets cold.
Okay, honey.
Oh, why, I've never worked for a charity bazaar. If you think I'd be useful... Mr. Drake, what? Honorary chairman. How nice for the bazaar. Well, I'd just rather not work on a committee with Alden Drake. No, really, I'd rather not. Oh, my goodness, no. I've never even met Mr. Drake. If I can help any other way, you will, won't you? Goodbye.
Out before he's in, huh?
What?
You'd just rather not work on a committee with $1 million. Look, I just don't get it. A chance like that and you don't even make a move to... Hey, wait a minute. Is it a move?
Don't be imaginative, Jake. You're not the type. Besides, you said I was way over my head there. Didn't you?
And so ends Act One of our play. Almost every day one reads in the newspapers of an increase in living costs. It may be an additional halfpenny on the price of a loaf of bread, or, as we all noticed recently, an increase of an entirely different nature, but with far-reaching effects both to our personal budgets and to industry. The increase to which I'm referring is the rise of from 5 to 7.5% in the price of steel, which came into operation early in January. This increase follows closely on the recent wage margin increase of 28%. As one newspaper puts it, the new rises might well be expected to have an immediate impact on the general level of manufacturing and building costs throughout Australia, especially in the case of durable consumer goods with a high steel content. For example, approximately 70% of the new Holden is steel. But this does not mean that Holden prices will increase. General Motors Holdens is determined to do everything in its power to offset the dangerous spiral of inflation. To this end, GMH has announced that the new Holden will sell at the same list price as that quoted for the previous model. When you take into consideration increases in the basic wage and the recent increase in margins, which together involve GMH in an additional wage cost of more than £2 million a year, you will agree that the company's decision to retain the 1958-59 level of prices for a larger, more powerful, and better-looking car is a worthy economic achievement. And now Act Two of the General Motors Hour production of Marsha Acres.
Hello? You what? Then you don't mind me calling all the way from Newbury? I didn't know who else to call. I needed advice. It's about stocks. The Drake Corporation. Yeah, that's the one. Alden Drake. The Department of Commerce said, what about cash dividends? Is that good, darling? I see. I see.
Miss Acres? Well, now, let me see. Alden's mother passed away many years ago. There was a sister. The poor child contracted meningitis, as I seem to recall. Only Alden and his father now. No close relatives at all. Now, who's next on the list of Newbury's first families that you're so very generously compiling for our town centennial?
Sure you won't have another drink, Marsha? Well, the title to the Drake farm rests on a deed 200 years old. Solid as a rock. It's been in the family all that time, too. But Alden's the first Drake to get the property free of debt. And I live with titles and deeds all day.
Did you get the report on the blood test, Mr. Drake?
Yes, Joe, negative. I'm having the calf vaccinated this afternoon.
So tomorrow he goes back with the rest of the herd. Yeah. You like that, Augustus, huh? I was wrong to segregate this one, looks like.
All right, save it to be sure.
Think I'll ever make a gentleman farmer, Mr. Drake?
You may, Joe. I never could have.
No? What do you call this farm?
Breeding registered cattle's an art, a hobby the way I do it. But it isn't farming by a long shot. Ask my father. He'll explain the difference. You call that calf Augustus.
Yes, sir.
He's registered as Drake's Baron Suttonworth. You're still naming the calves to suit yourself?
After Roman emperors this year, Mr. Drake. Augustus, Tiberius, Claudius, Caligula. I'm studying that part of history in my spare time.
Still as ambitious as ever, eh?
I want to learn, Mr. Drake.
Good. But what happens to my calves when you study Sanskrit or astronomical constellations?
I'll be so busy I'll just call them old bossy.
Oh, Joe, I'm going to Warmouth shortly. I want to look over one of their bulls. You're interested in the utility value of registered stock, so come along if you like.
If I like. Thanks, Mr. Drake.
There's a bright boy, son.
Yes, Dad. I expect he has an eye on Hap's job.
Superintendent. He ain't that bright. This fella vaccinated yet?
Uh-huh, this afternoon.
Good, good. This paper will interest you.
Huh? Board of Aldermen meets on water main
Not
issue.
that. Bottom of the page.
Who handles publicity for the country fair?
Gas.
He seems to think Drake Farm has won too many blue ribbons lately. Hey, what do you mean, gas?
Oh, the whole county fair is run by volunteers.
Yeah?
And so is publicity. Only this particular volunteer, she doesn't seem to like you much, son.
She? Oh, wait a minute. Not that Acres girl again.
Yeah.
Well, what's the matter with her anyway?
Well, she don't like you, that's all.
Well, that's absurd. She doesn't know me.
Well, maybe it's a matter of principle. Pesky thing with any woman. First off, she wouldn't work with you on that bazaar. Next, she up and argues against your own idea or town meeting. Last week, she snubs you at prayer meeting. And now she figures you must be bribing the breed judge. Sort of novelty, ain't it, son?
Novelty?
A gal not buttering up. You gotta admit it's a change.
Dad, do you know this Marsha Acres?
I know about her.
Well, what about her?
Well, folks were dead set against her coming back here.
Why?
Why does anybody get set against anything? Cussedness, mostly.
Who was set against her?
Everybody. Now everybody loves her, near as I can see. Why, it's a real turnabout. Quite a girl have managed it. Quite a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, she must be.
So Marcia has 10 drinks before dinner. Look, Patty, that doesn't make it right for you.
Oh, Jake, don't be silly. Oh, it's a nice custom, cocktails before dinner, darling.
Those aren't cocktails.
Well, whatever they are, it brightens up this...
This what?
Oh, everything. Please don't be stuffy, darling.
That's twice in 60 seconds.
What?
You've called me darling and didn't mean it either.
Oh, really, Jake? You are trying to find something to fight about.
Look, before you take that drink...
Jake!
Listen, honey, will you listen...
Let go of me!
Look.
Oh! Oh, my new rug and my drink.
Marcia's new drink. She bought it, and the liquor, and those earrings, and the roast beef for dinner, because all of a sudden we've got to have roast beef.
Oh.
Look, Patty, I'm sorry.
Oh, leave me alone.
I didn't mean it. I only mean it gets a man down. Honey, don't cry, please. Please don't cry.
Don't touch me.
Okay, I'm going out. At least where I can breathe some air of my own.
Jake!
So long.
Go, all right, go. Go! Oh, Jake.
Hello.
Huh? Hello.
My car broke down. I wonder if I might use that phone.
That only connects to the house. There's a phone up there.
Thanks.
Wait, no, it's a long walk up to the house. Drake Farm's a big place.
I noticed, but it's a longer walk to a garage.
Where is this car?
Just down the road.
I'll have a look at it.
Thanks.
Couldn't be you're out of gas.
I don't think so.
I worked 2 hours in the car once trying to start it on an empty tank.
What's wrong here, Joe?
Oh, her car broke down.
Hello.
Car trouble, huh? Well, I'm going up to the house. I'll phone town for you.
Oh, you're very kind, but this young man offered to...
Joe. Young fella, you keep your hands off that motor, you hear?
Okay, Mr. Drake.
He's handy some ways. Motors ain't one of them. You make the young lady comfortable while she's waiting.
Here's the card, Mr. Drake. I rented the car from Garvin's Rentals, and maybe we'd better call them.
You likely had.
If you tell them it's Miss Acres, Marsha Acres.
Acres?
Yes. Oh, I'm being an awful trouble.
No trouble at all, Miss Acres.
I haven't been at Newbury long, but I've heard of Mr. Drake, of course. I got the idea that he was a much younger man.
Oh, he is. I mean, the Mr. Drake is. That's his father. Born a farmer, lived a farmer, gonna die a farmer, no matter how much money his son has. That's a quote from the old man.
Oh, he sounds eccentric.
He gets weird ideas sometimes, like make the young lady comfortable. Not an easy chair anywhere. I'm sorry.
Oh, look at that calf. Isn't he sweet? How old is he?
Almost 4 months.
Does he have a name?
Well, he's registered as Drake's Baron Suttonwort. I call him Augustus.
What's wrong?
Why, the way you looked just now. Valfreya.
You go on for odd names. Who is Valfreya?
A goddess.
I beg your pardon?
She married the sunshine. When she wept, her tears turned into drops of gold on the sand and drops of amber in the sea. You're probably not interested in mythology. I'm not that much either, but I read a lot, and there's this goddess. You reminded me of her. What I imagined she looked like. She's my favorite. She was very beautiful.
Speaking of names, what's yours, Mr.
Joe. Joe Evaristi.
Mr. Evaristi, that's either the best line I've ever heard or it's one of the nicest compliments I've ever heard.
Miss Acres?
Oh, yes?
My father told me you were here. I'm Eldon Drake.
Oh?
Excuse me. I've got work to do.
Oh, is that all you've got to say, Miss Acres? Just all? I was prepared for a gauntlet flung in my face, even the clash of swords.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Rumor has it you don't like me.
Oh, that's silly. I don't know you.
Nevertheless, you've established that impression around Newbury. I suggest you've even gone out of your way to encourage it. Why, Miss Acres?
Mr. Drake, if you're making some kind of a joke...
I assure you I'm not.
But I don't see the sense of what you're saying, and I don't like the sound of it. If you resent my coming here for help, I'm sorry. I'll go at once.
Please, I've offended you. I'm sorry. Let's begin again, shall we? Your name has a singular effect around the Drake farm.
I don't know why it should.
One doesn't relish being judged without a trial and found wanting. Come now, what have you got against me?
Mr. Drake, this is ridiculous.
You did scorn sharing committee duties with me.
Oh, that.
That and other occasions. Don't you think I might have an explanation if I ask for one nicely?
Well, I don't like honorary chairmen, people who land their names and let other people do the work while they take the credit.
Well, I assure you this honorary chairman worked very hard on that last bazaar. I suggest you've even gone out of your way to encourage it. Why, Miss Acres?
Mr. Drake, if you're making some kind of a joke...
I assure you I'm not.
But I don't see the sense of what you're saying, and I don't like the sound of it. If you resent my coming here for help, I'm sorry. I'll go at once.
Please, I've offended you. I'm sorry. Let's begin again, shall we? Your name has a singular effect around the Drake farm.
I don't know why it should.
One doesn't relish being judged without a trial and found wanting. Come now, what have you got against me?
Mr. Drake, this is ridiculous.
You did scorn sharing committee duties with me.
Oh, that.
That and other occasions. Don't you think I might have an explanation if I ask for one nicely?
Well, I don't like honorary chairmen, people who land their names and let other people do the work while they take the credit.
Well, I assure you this honorary chairman worked very hard on that last bazaar. Furthermore, I'm not addicted to honorary chairmanships. The town generally approves of me, people individually, or even my friends now. If you condemn me because I'm rich and spoiled
Are
and
you, Mr. Drake?
Oh, incredibly. I'm rich because I earn success. I'm spoiled because I'm nice to spoil. And I'm pampered because I hope you will lunch with me today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't possibly...
A dinner, then, to set these rumors at rest around town.
All right.
You know, I'm glad your car broke down just where it did today.
I'm glad, too, now.
You suppose it was fate or something?
I'm sure it was fate. Or something.
The farm is my hobby. I maintain a small herd of registered brown Swiss.
Brown Swiss?
They're classified as a dairy breed heavier boned and thicker flesh than the Channel breeds, though I'm boring?
Oh, you're not boring me at all. I want to hear all about your hobby, all about you. Please go on.
Patty?
Yes, Jake?
More flowers just delivered for your sister. From Andrews the florist.
Andrews? They must be from Mr. Drake.
Who else? You know, some guys don't ask for trouble. They walk right up and beg for it.
It's remarkable, that's all.
I think so. Our third evening together in a week. And for once, we didn't argue about a thing.
No, I didn't mean that. With you here, this terrace seems less commonplace.
It's a beautiful terrace, Alden.
I like being with you, Marsha. When you talk, you say something. When you don't talk, I look at you. It's good. It's comfortable. It's, remarkable. That's all.
That's a mighty fine present, Joe. Well, as far as she's a lucky gal.
I made it myself. Only, I don't know this girl exactly. Maybe she wouldn't want a present from me.
Well, that present wouldn't make any girl mad, I guarantee that.
Then you say give it to her, right, sir?
Yes, Joe. Give it to her.
Jake, don't you ever do anything except read newspapers. Where's Patty?
Babysitting? They ask for you. You know, you've been slipping on your good deeds lately, or maybe they weren't such good deeds. Maybe they were Marsha using people to help Marsha.
Jake, I am happy tonight.
Well, good for you.
Don't spoil it.
I don't understand. All of a sudden you don't care about making a good impression.
I'm making the impression I want to make.
On Alden Drake, is that it?
Oh, go back to your funny paper.
Is that it, Marsha? You'll be clearing out of here then. You've been here 3 months. It's time you cleared out. You know, I've been patient.
Save it for tomorrow, Jake. I'm tired.
Did you get a long-distance call here this afternoon?
From who?
A broker, he said. Stocks and bonds. Name of Barney Terrell. He a friend of yours?
An acquaintance?
He talked like a real good friend. I wrote down the message. Yeah. Drake Corporation paid dividends last quarter.
The idiot. Give me that.
I got the idea he thought he was doing you a favor. You know, interesting you checking on Alden Drake with a man like Barney Terrell.
Well, there's no reason I shouldn't.
No reason at all. According to a syndicated columns in the paper, this Barney Terrell's quite a character. When a girl's tied up with him, it's not good for her reputation, is it?
Exactly what are you getting at?
I've asked you to move out of here. Now I'm telling you.
Telling me how?
You know, Alden Drake might find that long-distance call very interesting.
That call doesn't prove a thing.
No, who's talking about proving anything? Just mentioning it, that's all. Mr. Drake's imagination will do the rest.
You wouldn't be so...
I'd be anything to get you out from between Patty and me.
Oh, but you won't, because Patty would never forgive you. Spread gossip about me, and you'll do what you want me not to do. Hurt your precious wife.
It'll cost you the big prize.
I need this nice, proper family background, and I'm not moving till I don't need it. Relax, Jake. That may not be too long now.
You're sure of everything, aren't you?
Everything.
Including Alden Drake?
More and more including Alden Drake.
His stable boy.
What?
Joe Evaristi. He brought this package over in person, said he made it for you. He said to be sure and tell you he made it himself. Oh, here's a card. It says, I remember a goddess, Joe.
Why, the crazy... Of all the crazy...
It's a clay calf. A stable boy trying to be a sculptor.
Stop calling him a stable boy.
That's what he is.
What a crazy thing to do.
Yeah, crazy's right. He's in the soup if Drake finds out. So are you, as a matter of fact. The princess and the stable boy. It's funny. Dynamite funny. This could blow everything sky high. If you want my...
Oh, shut up!
What did you break that clay model for?
Clean up the pieces and send them back to Joe. And tell him to stay away from me.
And so ends Act Two of our play. General Motors Holden's decision to sell the new Holden at 1958-59 prices, in spite of increases in the cost of steel, the basic wage, and wage margins, has twofold significance for every Australian. It should prove a valuable factor in halting inflation. It is in line with GMH policy of providing full value for every pound the purchaser invests. Since Holden was first introduced in 1948, the basic wage rate for the people employed in General Motors Holdens has risen by 129%. As well as the recent increase in the price of steel, pig iron is now 163% dearer than at the inception of Holden. Lead costs 186% more, and zinc has gone up by 435%. Increases like these have also affected the cost to GMH of vast quantities of materials, parts, and services purchased largely on Holden's account from more than 4,000 outside suppliers. Incidentally, many of these independent suppliers have done a tremendous job in keeping their own prices down, an important factor in maintaining the list price of the new Holden sedan at the same figure as the 1958-1959 model. And further, today's Holden sedan price is £25 lower than the list price for the same model in 1956. For reasons like these, GMH believes the new Holden offers the best value for its price in an extremely competitive market. By holding the price at last year's level, in the face of steeply rising costs, GMH believes that it has made a worthwhile contribution to the fight against inflation. General Motors Holdens, GMH, a link in the chain of Australia's progress, a partner in Australia's future. And now here is the final act in the General Motors Hour production of Marsha Acres.
Hello.
Oh, I didn't see you.
I'm a born snooper. Bad habit. Been trying to break it all my life. You waiting for Eldon?
Yes, we were going to drive out to Groves Point. He's general manager of the Walmouth plant.
To be sure.
They're inside. Something came up about personnel policy. Alden has to settle it.
Walmouth. Now, was Alden telling me that production's way off?
That plant was 20% above peak production as of...
You know that.
I think that's what it was. But women just don't understand these things, do they? Well, your dog has come out onto the terrace. What do you call him?
Mr. Buchanan.
Hello, Mr. Buchanan. What kind of a dog is he?
Courageous when need be. Gentle mostly. Fine company. You know, some women now get a talent for understanding production peaks. Money matters generally. It's a wonderful thing, talent.
It was always a joke in my family that I didn't have any.
Oh, everybody's got some. Alden, he's the best talent for making money. Particularly not with him. Me, I got a couple, I guess, or farming and people.
Is that a talent? People?
Reading them is.
And do you read me, Mr. Drake?
Enough to be mighty impressed.
By what?
Well, I ain't sure exactly. You got my son talking to having a big party here Saturday night. Always hated parties, Alden did.
This is a party to launch the fundraising drive for...
And that bar there. Fancy-dancy contraption that is. Roll it anywhere. I'll never give a gadget like that house room before. I'd say I'm impressed by two things generally. The way you took over this town and the way you're taking over my son.
Mr. Drake, I hope you're joking. That makes me sound like
Sounds like what it is. Talent's talent. A wonderful thing, eh, Mr. Buchanan? Come on, boy. Come on inside the house.
Mr. Drake.
He's busy.
Oh, Miss Acres.
If it's important, I'll call him.
The separator broke down. We can't do anything about it until tomorrow. I guess I'll see him before then.
Joe,
Yeah?
I'm ashamed of myself.
Why?
I never thanked you for your present.
Oh, that's all right.
It was very thoughtful of you. I remember a goddess.
I didn't know about you and the bus when I brought it over. If I had, I'd never...
Did you really make it yourself?
Oh, sure. I fool around with stuff like that in my spare time.
You read mythology in your spare time?
Well, that too.
He reads mythology, studies history, models in clay, writes pretty words on cards. You're an unusual man, Joe Everesty.
Guess not.
Oh, yes. I've never met anyone quite like you. How is Augustus?
Oh, fine. You wouldn't know him.
So big?
Half grown.
Oh.
We got another one. Oh, a dead ringer for Augustus.
And what do you call him?
Nero. Come have a look at him.
Oh, well, I'm waiting for Mr. Drake.
Oh, it won't take a minute.
All right. I've never seen a fiddler calf before.
Fiddler?
Nero, sir.
Oh, I see. Okay, come on. This won't take long. It isn't far to the pen. He's a real cute little fella. Well, isn't he a beauty?
Joe,
Yeah?
does it cost a lot?
Does what cost a lot?
Having a herd of registered cattle. Is it an expensive hobby?
It is for Drake. He could turn a profit if he wanted to.
How?
By listening to me. I mean it, Marsha. Miss Acres, I've got an idea. It's like the record of merit testing system, only an improvement. We look better on paper, and Drake could name his own prices on our stock. But why talk about it?
Well, why not talk about it?
Because he won't listen to me. Because the superintendent, 20 years behind the times, and the boss take his word for everything.
Suppose he did listen to you, Joe.
Oh, he won't.
He might if I ask him.
Would you do that, Miss Acres? Marsha, would you?
If it's for his own good.
You're an angel. A goddess. You know you are. More than ever to me, Marsha.
We'll talk about it this afternoon driving to Groves Point.
Marsha!
Oh, he's looking for me. Coming, Holden.
You won't forget me.
No, Joe. I certainly won't forget you.
Hey, Patty, come on, let's go on the terrace and get some air, huh?
Mm-hmm. All right, Jake.
Oh, that noise was getting me. Yes, sir, that's better.
Is that arm bothering you?
Well, it's a little stiff, but another week and I'll be as good as new. You like the party, don't you? That's in this house of Alden Drake's.
Oh, yes.
It's over your head.
Oh, that's so silly.
You're over your head, too.
Oh, I'm not. I'm having a wonderful time.
No, what I mean is these aren't our kind of people.
They're wonderful people, the best. They're exciting and nice.
Oh,
and...
they're wonderful people, all right, but how come the Callahans who live in Milan Street over Mahoney's Bakery got invited?
Because Marsha wanted us.
Yeah, Marsha. You know, something's happened to your sister these last couple of days. Have you noticed that? I mean, trying to figure it out.
Oh, now, don't start picking on Marsha. Not tonight, Jake.
No. She's been kind of nervous, jumpy, on edge. Hey, you know what I think?
I don't want to hear.
No, but Patty...
I'm going back to have some fun.
Yeah, but wait a minute,
well,
Patty,
nobody's going to spoil my fun.
Why, of all the...
Better count to 10, young fella.
Yeah. Oh. Where'd you come from?
I've been out here taking the air. That gal really set out to make you mad.
Yeah. She's my wife.
That explains it.
What?
A gal gets down to serious living, being wife. String up some Latin, start some music, she'll go haywire every time. See him in there?
Yeah.
You see that one?
Couldn't help it. That's Marsha.
Cool as spring rain. 'Cause she ain't a wife yet. But there's nothing haywire there.
No. Now, she's in a glory. Got just what she set out to get. People bowing and smiling, being nice to her, wishing they were her.
You, know her pretty well, huh?
I sure do.
Excuse
Why,
me, can I butt in?
Oh, sure, yeah. I was just going anyhow.
Dad, I got to talk to you.
That's so? Well, let's take a walk.
Okay.
A nice night.
Haven't had time to notice.
What's on your mind, son?
Several things.
Covers a sight of territory, several things. We got to tack it all this minute?
I told young Joe Evaristi to go to work on the project. You told Hap not to let him go to work on it.
Hap's the superintendent, Alden. He's against this crazy kid's idea. You can't go over his head on such a crack brain.
He takes his orders from me, Dad.
I ain't giving him orders.
You countermanded my instructions.
This talk's taking on a fancy-dancy sound. Countermanded your instructions, did I? You're telling me to mind my own business, that it?
That's about it.
Drat it. This is my business. Trying to keep my son from making a fool of himself.
Look, I don't want to fight about this.
Well, I do. Alden, listen to me. That girl.
Miss Acres?
She put you up to back in Joe Evaristi, didn't she?
Nobody put me up to anything. Marcia did suggest.
Marcia did suggest. I've seen 10-ton tractors with less driving power than her suggest.
Dad, you'd better understand something about Marcia.
I understand you're making a fool of yourself over that girl who ain't worth it.
If she'll have me, I'm going to marry Marcia as soon as possible.
Well, now, I was for Marsha Acres once. Sight unseen when the whole town was holding scalping knives for her. Now I'm impressed, understand, but maybe I just don't like to see a woman that sets up an underground war to land a man.
Most women do that, and most men know it.
Maybe so. And I don't have to like this woman for doing it. No more than I have to live with her in this house or on this farm. That's my last word, son.
Joe?
What are you doing here in the barn?
I took a walk. I went after Alden, but he was talking to his father, and maybe I heard things I shouldn't have heard. I saw the light on in here. Joe, why didn't you come to the party?
Too far to walk. And the help wasn't invited.
You should worry. Joe, I've got good news. Alden's going to back you on your idea after all.
You mean he was going to back me?
He still is. He just told his father so. They had a terrible quarrel about it.
Marcia, this isn't my project. It's ours now, yours and mine. Why'd you do this for me?
Anybody deserves a break.
It's more than that. Why'd you come down here? Leave that party and walk all this way?
To tell you?
This is why.
No.
It is. It has been from that first day.
It's crazy. I can't. I won't.
You've been telling yourself that for weeks.
Because it's true.
You can't help yourself, Marsha.
Joe.
You don't even want to help yourself anymore.
Oh, Joe. All right, Jake, we're home. Do we talk?
Okay, we talk.
Provided what you have to say is an apology. What you have to say is an apology.
Apology for what?
Embarrassing me in front of all those people.
Look, you left me on the terrace. You went in and started dancing with that guy Wilson.
And you came in and made such a fuss, and you were so loud.
Hey, Patty, you didn't like him.
Oh, he was fun.
No. You know what I mean.
Oh, of course not, silly.
Patty, if I embarrassed you, I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't really. I hated it, Jake. Dancing with somebody else.
Well, a girl gets down to serious business being a wife, you know. I guess she needs a change temporarily.
I don't want to change. Oh, Jake, you were right. They're not our kind of people.
Why, sure they are. Only they got to understand something. Patty Callahan is my wife, not a stooge sister for Marcia.
Stooge? Jake, how can you?
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Wow, Marcia. You're home early?
Oh, Marcia, it was a lovely party. Thanks for inviting us. Coffee will be ready by the time you change into something more comfortable.
I'll skip coffee tonight.
Oh, but we've got to gossip. Half the fun's talking over the people.
Oh, can't you see she doesn't want to gossip? Something's happened.
Has Alden phoned?
Alden?
Didn't he bring you home?
I came home alone.
Oh, something has happened.
Yeah. The great man has woke up. She's split with Drake.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Oh, of course he wouldn't. Jake wants you to be happy just as
happy? Did you see me tonight? A house full of flowers and music. A big house with candles and crystal chandeliers and carpet all over. And everybody respecting me. And now it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm all mixed up.
Oh, Marcia, what on
Wait
earth?
a minute. Whoa. What happened tonight exactly?
Me, Marsha Acres, in love. Like you read about but don't believe. You know, it can't happen so beautifully, so wonderfully.
If Alden loves you, too, and if you love each other, why do you say you don't want it?
It's not Alden, that's it, isn't it? It's not Alden she's in love with. She gets the world and then she doesn't like it.
Shut up, Jake.
Who is he, Marcia? Do we know him? Does Alden know him? Hey, the stable boy. It's got to be. And it is. The princess and the stable boy.
What stable boy? Who?
He makes things for her and she smashes them. Did you tell him about that, Marcia? You know, he ought to know he's in for the same treatment. Him and his beautiful love. The kind you read about that's so wonderful you just don't believe.
Don't.
Oh, Marcia, what did you hit him for? Have you gone crazy?
Get him out of here, sneering at me and smirking. Get out!
You listen to me. Jake's my husband and this is his home. You've tried to make me forget that. If anybody's getting out, then it'd better be you.
I'll answer the door. Well, we were just talking about you.
Alden?
I considered phoning. I decided to come in person instead.
Patty, you said something about coffee. Come on.
Oh yes. Excuse me.
You ran out in your own party.
I'm sorry. Don't ask me why, please.
I didn't come here to ask you why. You ran away. That posed a question. To pursue, or I've never pursued a girl before. Tonight I did, as you can see. The reason I want this particular girl, I want her to marry me. Will you, Marsha?
I don't know.
We have one thing in common. We're both realists. We've both been successful as realists. I want you, and you want something. Many things. I can give them to you. On your own terms.
On my own terms. The big prize.
The what?
Nothing. I was just thinking. What a fool a girl would be to take less.
And Marsha Acres is not a fool.
She never has been. Almost sometimes, but not quite. And not now. Not this time. Excuse me, Alden. Hello?
Marsha, it's Joe. I hope I didn't get you out of bed, but I've got news. I'm representing the Drake farm at the breed meeting. The boss told me tonight.
Really? Oh, I'm so glad for you.
Glad? Marsha, do you know what this means? Listen, can you make it down to the station in 20 minutes?
The station?
I'm due in Des Moines tomorrow. Marsha, please come.
But this is crazy.
It is, but we're crazy people.
We must be. You're asking me to... You want me to...
I couldn't just dial a number and say goodbye. Not after tonight.
But it's so sudden. All right, 20 minutes.
You're coming?
Yes, darling, yes. Alden, I'm sorry, I can't marry you.
Now, wait a minute.
And there isn't time to explain. Good night, Alden.
It's goodbye if I walk out that door. You know that.
Then goodbye, Alden.
I was wrong about Marsha Acres. She is a fool after all.
Hello, Joe.
Marsha, oh, you're wonderful. Just 14 minutes.
And it's your fault if I'm in a mess. I didn't have time to make myself beautiful. And this bag, everything thrown together in it. My sister will have to send my things on to Des Moines, isn't it?
Marsha, wait a minute. You can't mean... You didn't think I...
Well, you said you couldn't say goodbye, neither could I.
Well, that's wonderful. You're wonderful, but
I mean, I could say it. I did say it, but to Alden. He asked me to marry him.
I'm glad.
But when I said no, You're what, darling?
I'm happy about you and Alden because you must be so happy. Marsha, I couldn't ask you to go away with me. That'd be crazy.
Two crazy people.
I just wanted to say thanks. I couldn't say it over the phone. Tell how grateful I am. I had to see you for that.
See me?
If you hadn't put in a word for me, I wouldn't be getting this chance. I appreciate it more than I can say.
But, Joe, tonight after I left the party and came to you...
Oh, that was sweet. Believe me, I'll never forget it. Bye, Marsha.
But, Joe! Joe! Joe!
And so ends the General Motors Hour production of Marsha Acres, written by William Kendall Clark and adapted for radio by Rue Pullen, in which you heard the following players. As Withers, Lionel Stevens. Mrs. Adams, Frances Worthington. Registrar, Ken Fraser. Committeewoman, Marion Johns. Amos Drake, John Tate. Patty, Moya O'Sullivan. Alden Drake, Richard Davies. Joe, Keith Buckley. Jake, Al Thomas. And as Marsha Acres, you heard our star, Marcia Hathaway. The General Motors Hour is directed by Harry Harper, who produced tonight's play. 1 week from tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the General Motors Hour will present a bright English comedy, More for the Skylark. This is an hour of fun concerning Dorothy Ritchie and her long-absent brother-in-law, Leo. We shall star Ruth Cracknell and Richard Davies. Until then, this is John Deese saying good night to you all from the General Motors Hour, which now signs off from the Macquarie Network and cooperating stations throughout Australia.